Okay.
Yes. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yes. Happy to see you there, Joy.
Hello, good morning, Diana.
Yes. Francis.
Good morning.
Yes. And waiting for Eliza. Yes, Sumaya is right there.
Yes. Good morning.
Happy to have you guys online right now. You can say hi to everyone at the moment. Yeah, they're responding. So I hope everyone can hear us clearly at the moment. Well, can you hear us?
Yes,
We can hear you. We hope the people online can hear you too.
All right, perfect.
Are you able to see us?
Yes, I can see you properly.
Thank you.
Yes. So welcome, everyone. We are happy to be here and very excited about today's discussion or dialogue. We want to call it a dialogue because we want to discuss issues that are going to bring growth in our lives and our careers right now at this juncture. I want to say a simple prayer so that we can kickstart. All right, let us pray. Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for this dialogue and discussion that we're going to have today. May you give us wisdom and help us learn and let us be teachable. Give us the knowledge so that we can come out of this better than we came in. In Jesus' name we prayed and believed. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Yes, so our topic today, as we have been seeing on the flyers, is advancing cross-border legal practice. Today, we are esteemed to be in the presence of three amazing ladies who are members of UK Ugandan Lawyers Association, which is abbreviated as ULA. I want you to, we had kept aside something, a secret that we did not want to divulge before, but in our midst, we are graced with the president of the Uganda Law Society, Mr. Isaac Semakade, a round of applause, who has graced, who has humbly accepted to be with us today. And I believe that all of us would like to hear something from him. So I think at this point, I'm going to welcome him to come and say a few words to us. Your Excellency, we are ready to hear from you. I can see people in the chat are excited. We are really happy to have you. Uganda Law Society President online, we are ready to hear from you. The people who are asking in the chat that they can't hear anything, he has not yet started to speak, but when he does, I'm sure you'll hear. As long as you can hear me, I believe you'll hear him. Yeah, so.
Good morning, Madam. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Your Excellency.
Thank you very, very much for that humble and generous introduction. I'm also humbled to be in the midst of a circle of progressive and innovative ladies who have generously kickstarted this cross-border conversation as part of the consummation of our MOU between the Uganda Law Society and the UK-Uganda Lawyers Association. I want to start by giving tribute to my counterpart, the president of the UK-Uganda Lawyers Association, Francis Dungu, and her colleagues. I see the speaker and other members of the association who are going to address us today. I give you tribute for keeping it hot and standing on business despite the prevailing circumstances. I prepared a few short remarks that I want to share when I saw the topic, given its introductory nature. What is the case for encouraging cross-border legal practice within the Ugandan community, especially those of us who are still here? Why isn't this conversation already popular? Why isn't it part of the furniture yet in law firms and in law schools? And I would like to think that it was because there weren't prophets like you ladies who stand on the mountaintop and say, let's have this conversation. It's existential. So I want to provide a 10-point case for encouraging you to go forward. And I would like you to utilize the following data. I'm grateful for my assistant, Ruth Jane Julie. Among, I think she works with our professional development team. Angom, yeah, I think that's the name. She helped me prepare this data. It provides as follows. Number one, Uganda's demographic picture, demographic map needs to be stressed in all your conversations and going forward, because we have a very young population that is suffering the yoke of high unemployment. Uganda's unemployment rate stands at 12.3%. And this means that 1.4 million people within the prime, working age, 14 to 64, are unemployed. Those are completely unemployed. They desire to work, but they can find nothing, according to the latest census. When you break this data into particular segments, the youth, for instance, that is 15 to 24, 42.6% of them can't find any work. And yet they are not in school. They are not training. And most of them are women. So cross-border legal practice offers Ugandan lawyers an escape hatch out of this pressure cooker. These statistics are not about others, they're about us. They're about us. It offers Ugandan lawyers access to international job markets so that we can reduce pressure on the already saturated domestic legal sector, which is chronically a bane. We failed to penetrate the rural segment. So we can't provide viable, our law firms individually and collectively can't provide viable career opportunities for the unemployed or underemployed legal professionals. Increasingly, legal qualification does not provide a fulfilling career. This is the scourge of legal practice that we're dealing with. Out of kids fight to get enrollment, and I ask, even if you got the enrollment, what exactly are you really gonna do with it? So there isn't enough conversation. And although you are speaking of UK Uganda leap, but we can go to Sudan, we can go to Zaire, we can go to Goma, Burundi, even Kenya, even Tanzania, Seychelles, South Africa, Barbados, Bahamas. One of my mentors, Christopher Sembuya, may his soul rest in peace, one of the founders of Sembule, wrote a book called The Other Side of Amin. Very small book, we helped him publish it, and we need to republish it. But you see, the Sembules were titans of industry. And when he was older, in his old age, he would have conversations with us. And if you have lived with older people, you would know that they tend to repeat these, I call them lowest common denominators of their memory, so that they don't run mad. One of them, for which we reduced down in the book, was the fear of the African to confront the unknown. He kept saying that was what distinguished him from all the rest. The fear of the African to confront the unknown. Even when we were put on boats, and so on and so forth, this fear wasn't conquered. So conquering that fear is important. But I guess we don't have any choice now. There's a raging fire called high unemployment, and it has to be tackled. And UK, Ula, don't be limited in thinking the government needs to hear your solutions. Both governments, by the way, all governments need to hear your solutions, because this unemployment situation requires all hands on deck. I think the second point I wanted to offer you ladies in beginning this conversation is boosting income potential. So again, I invite you to look at the 2020 Financial Capability Survey report of the Bank of Uganda, which reveals that 49.2% of adult Ugandans, 49.2% of adult Ugandans in employment earn less than 150,000. So this is our client base. These are people on a payroll that the Bank of Uganda can access. These people pay NSSF. They are in the legit formal sector. They earn less than 150K per month. That's less than $41 per month. And women are disproportionately represented in this low-income group. They are the ones you find on the payrolls of all these mushrooming industries along the major highways and arteries of this country, doing this repetitive work. So cross-border legal work, particularly with higher paying international clients or firms, offers Ugandan lawyers the chance to significantly earn more and improve their financial stability lifting themselves and their families out of poverty. There is no other way to do it. So if we're going to boost our income potential, we have to grow the circle of people talking about cross-border legal practice. The third aspect of our conversation should be the MOU, the decade of partnership we launched together, Francis. The 10-year partnership between ULS and UK-Uganda Lawyers Association provides a robust platform for cross-border legal practice. It sets the tone appropriately for a decade of partnership. This collaboration, led by the two of us, President Francis Dungu and I, offers Ugandan lawyers access to established networks, mentorship, and resources in the UK, facilitating entry of unknowns, underprivileged Ugandans into the international legal market, enhancing their ability to land on their feet in this strange world and begin the necessary journey to success, the pilgrim's journey to success by, collaborating on cross-border cases. Even those who don't live, by the way, because I think when you came to office, you made the case that there's a lot of UK lawyers, UK legal services that need to be front-loaded, externalized, whether to Uganda or India, in the digital space. But is there a sufficient battery of talent for Ugandans to tap into? Are Ugandan law firms opening themselves to provide cross-border practice, to work on cross-border cases and cross-border assignments, even when they don't actually leave? It's not about migration. I think you made that point, and that has to be made enough. There's not you can't do enough of these conversations, I think. But thank you for starting. The fourth point is, and that came out in enhancing professional skills and knowledge. Of course, engaging with international legal systems through this kind of partnerships will expose Ugandan practitioners to diverse practices and standards. It will sharpen our skills in areas like international arbitration, trade law, and human rights law, making us more competitive domestically and globally while enriching Uganda's legal profession with global perspectives. And we have to be open to this. It's a skills transfer, reverse brain drain. Of course, everybody knows about the remittances. They are captured. I think the last report that captured Ugandan remittances was the 2011 National Employment Policy, which notes that Ugandans abroad remitted 1.392 billion, 1.4, only nearly 1.4 billion in the financial year 2007, 2008. That's nearly 18 years ago. So this is probably, I don't know the current figures of remittances. Lawyers participating in a cross-border practice can similarly contribute. Already you contribute, you bolster household incomes, and you support national economic development. Lawyers earn in a significant higher bracket. So if this is part of the architecture, and you need support, and there is support for growing remittances. So look into that area as well. The youth bulge. The next point I want to make is the youth bulge. Uganda currently has 4 million youth. That is 15 to 24. That is nearly 10% of the country's population. 42.6 of them aged between 14 and 24. Now, these people are not engaged in employment, in education or training as per the last census. And they also include lawyers. So you're actually offering a lifeline for so many young lawyers. International opportunities can provide practical experience, mentorship, career pathways, helping the youth unemployment crisis and harness the potential of Uganda's working age population, which is a total of 57.4% of the population. So you have to understand the statistics and see what confronts you, and then you see lawyers involved in this scenario. There's so much trauma within the senior lawyers already. being responsible for providing pathways out of this pressure cooker for the young attorneys. I don't think that international lawyers have enough access to potential mentees as well. That probably needs to be made known. That what we lack there's abundance out there. Of course, diversifying revenue streams for law firms and lawyers themselves, international clientele and cases can help Ugandan lawyers reduce their dependence on the domestic market. This diversification supported by this partnership will allow practitioners to tap into lucrative fields. Smaller law firms can get into corporate law, into international trade, and enhance their financial resilience and widen their professional scope. I can't repeat enough the opportunity offering to bridge the gender gap, promoting gender inclusivity. There is no accident in the first panel being all female. There has been access to these opportunities before. They have been predominantly male. So you're actually breaking a glass ceiling here. The 2024 census has very bad news for women and gender empowerment. The gender gap in employment has just widened and worsened. Women face higher unemployment rates than men. This is not. This also, spills over into cross-border legal practice. So this is one of the best ways, if not the only best way, to level the playing field by offering female lawyers equal access to international opportunities, empowering them to overcome local barriers, secure higher earnings, and advance their careers. There's a lot of conversations happening in Uganda, completely deceiving women that there's anything for them in this country, except the usual pick-me nonsense and fighting and elbowing themselves over little breadcrumbs. So be bold and frank and candid with these women that it's only through appreciating pathways to cross-border practice that there can be meaningful participation for them in the legal market. I can't say enough what this will do for Uganda's legal reputation if we embraced it together. If we all supported this partnership, it's the best way to showcase the competence of Ugandan lawyers on the global stage, enhancing our country's reputation as a source of skilled legal talent as well. The visibility that this partnership seeks to amplify will attract foreign clients and investment, positioning Uganda as a regional legal hub as well. And I think that's the ultimate goal. Lastly, the partnership promises to, showcase innovation and best practices. Exposure to these advanced legal frameworks and technologies will, through international collaboration, will inspire Ugandan lawyers to adopt and adapt to innovative practices such as digital case management and alternative dispute resolution, for which there's very little permission at the current rate. These advancements, brought back to Uganda from cross-border experiences, will strengthen our legal sector, jumpstart long, ignored reforms, and improve service delivery, contribute to the broader economic and judicial progress. I am therefore very, very grateful that we have kickstarted this. I am aware that we have threats against this partnership. I want to be able to put them on record so that you can reflect upon them moving forward. In conclusion, of course, our education system, legal education system, is inadequate. It's based on outdated curricula. There's lack of practical training, resource constraints at every turn, and limited focus on international law. We are basically producing kwashako lawyers. So the training element or the retooling aspect of the MOU partnership needs to be given high priority. The desire is there, but desire and hope and potential never made it alone, You need good clients want ready-made lawyers. Clients don't want to train lawyers. So there's a mismatch of desire and capacity right now. Regulatory barriers are the second thing. You saw recently what happened with Martha Karua. We had to intervene and educate the regulator of the gross harm it had done to the Ugandan legal market by failing to provide the guarantee of reciprocity. If you reject a Ugandan lawyer who wants to come and do, a Kenyan lawyer who wants to come and do just one case on one day, you lock out Ugandans from the entire global market. So please, regulator, stay in your grave. Leave this for us. That's what we have to fight and teach this lady Muriagonja and her dinosaurs in the law council. I'm happy to say that they have learned. And just this week, within 4 days, they have also approved a Kenyan lawyer to come and represent me in a case I have against the government. It didn't take long. We submitted on 26th, which I believe was Thursday last week. By Tuesday, this week, we had response that they have approved Advocate Nelson Harvey to come and represent me in a constitutional petition, which was going to be had the next day, going to be conferenced the next day. So we still have regulatory barriers on foreign lawyers, and a complex licensing process. We have unresolved conversations around the mutual recognition agreement and so on and so forth. There's little knowledge about that. Hopefully, this sort of conversations will improve and accelerate these conversations. The third aspect, of course, is our economic and political instability. We are rated very poorly on political risk as a country. And it has, this debris falls on each of us. We are seen as Ugandans, as lawyers who can't comprehend rule of law. If the country cannot uphold rule of law, if that's the reputation of the country, it spreads on you. As an attorney, you can't convince people that you're a good lawyer if where you come from things are really that bad. So we are associated with corruption and a weak rule of law culture. We are associated with lack of ethics and economic hardship. Can we be trusted if the stories about our country and our country's elite are that they are, they fall short? Cultural and linguistic differences. Well, while English is Uganda's official language, legal terminology and legal English is a different ball game. There's also cultural misalignment, variations in traditions. I think we discussed this extensively. The expectations, the client expectations, the professional norms between Uganda and other countries vary widely, and this may complicate effective collaboration. So we have to be honest and candid with each other about letting certain cultures and culture, it rained today, my mother died. Those excuses don't cut it. Technological and infrastructure limitations. Luckily, we are making some progress there. This is a good example. But for me, the most significant are these two: the resistance within the legal community, the fear of competition. Some lawyers see international collaboration as a threat to the domestic market, leading to reluctance to embrace this vision. Some lawyers have acclimatized themselves to this traumatic condition of living and making a living in these pressure conditions by fooling themselves in a very schizophrenic experience that they are well off, that they are better than the next guy. And so they don't want to hear conversations about what could be better. They are very cynical. There's too much cynicism. We have an epidemic of cynicism within the legal field. Because lawyers think they are substantially better than the next Ugandan. They can wear a suit, they can speak good English, they can understand, they can critique somebody. But man, the data doesn't lie. The data doesn't lie. Lack of awareness. Of course, many practitioners may not fully grasp the benefits or the mechanics of cross-border legal practice, and this has resulted into disinterest and hesitation. Those who know keep this information very, very close to their hearts and chests. They're not as generous as you are. Of course, like I said, the last one is insufficient support from legal institutions. You will not find support from LDC, from our universities, from our Ministry of Justice, from many, many institutions that can help. So that doesn't mean you give up, but just understand that these are the risks our decade of partnership faces. We need to re-educate not just the regulator, but even the supporting institutions to help out. We do more. So we need to focus on our domestic priorities. Regulatory bodies like the Law Council. Law Council has to yield a lot of the regulatory nonsense it has. That's work of the Uganda Society. The Uganda Society is the best engine. The Uganda Society, as a regulator of legal services, is the best engine for promoting cross-border legal practice. Because we are the ones that our other bar associations want to hold liable. So when they actually consult us in international forums and they ask about this attorney, about what would you do, and they are surprised that we simply exist, but we have no regulatory power at all. We can't sign deals that they are offering because that power belongs elsewhere, not in the bar. So there's very little understanding of independence of the legal profession as a criterion for legal practice in this country. Very little. Many lawyers have accepted a captured, co-opted legal profession as the norm. It's not. And it is why we can't move, why all these things may fail. So we are doing our best at the Radical New Bar to at least focus our knowledge and action on the meaning of independence of the legal profession. What are the possibilities of liberating this island of legal practice and bring it in tandem with the 1990 baseline standards prescribed in the UN Basic Role of Lawyers and the IBS standards for independence of the legal profession, and the 3 or 4 special rapporteur reports that have been issued for the independence of lawyers in 2016, 2018, 2022. People don't have knowledge of these things. So they have no sense of how much of their cheese has been stolen by guess who has been practicing cross-border? The government. The government lawyers know this. Every day they are flying. Every day they are on Zoom in arbitration centers, stealing our chicken. Guys don't know this. And just got to stop. So I will stop here. I have overspoken. I'm so sorry we're involved in massive litigation, massive attacks. People don't want us to liberate the bar. So I can't stay long with you. I have to return to supervise so much, I have to put out fires and block all this interference to good administration. But I thank you, Francis. It's not out of disrespect that I'll be leaving. But those were my thoughts. And I wish you excellent deliberations. Thank you very much.
Wow. Our president, we want to thank you. A round of applause from everyone. To our president, we want to really thank you for being a part of this. We do not take this for granted. We know that you're out of the jurisdiction and borders of this country, but you making time to be present for such discussions gives us a lot of hope and strengthens us in the resolve to stand behind you in everything that you're doing. And we believe that we shall overcome this as well. The president, I just want to wrap up a bit with what he has said and the conversation he has started. The remarks were extremely filled with a lot of information that I've tried to compress. I would just like to run through it before our panelists begin. our president generally highlighted that the young demographic of Uganda has many, or the biggest percentage is unemployed, and the potential for law firms to boost income and lift people out of poverty through cross-border opportunities is right in front of us with ULA, a decade-long partnership which has been signed in form of an MOU with ULS, now offers a robust platform for opportunities, enhancing professional skills in areas like international arbitration and commercial transactions. And this partnership is going to help Ugandans and Ugandan law firms to tap into global markets, increase revenue, and eventually get us out of this pressure cooker, as he termed it, that we are all boiling in. We really want to commend the members of ULA who have come forward with the championship of President Frances Dungu Smith, a very commendable lady. I have had a few interactions with her, and I believe everyone on here is going to leave this place with their minds blown. We have 3 of them. The next speaker, we have 3 speakers: Frances Dungu Smith, the president; Joy Chakwita, she is the speaker; and another member, Sumaya Balunywa. So at this point, I want to briefly introduce the president, Frances Dungu Smith, president of the UK Ugandan Lawyers Association and a dual qualified lawyer. By that, I mean she practices both in Uganda and the UK. She's a solicitor in the UK. She has extensive expertise in international law, arbitration, and dispute resolution, with extensive experience representing governments and individuals. Frances is a respected advocate and arbitrator with a strong background in cross-border legal matters. Let's give Frances a warm welcome. Over to you.
Thank you, Diana, for that humble and warm introduction. First of all, I would like to thank the president of the Uganda Law Society, Mr. Isaac Semakade. Thank you so much for sparing this moment to be with us in your busy schedule. And I'm so overwhelmed to hear your voice again. I last obviously heard from you when we signed this MOU, which we call the Valentine's agreement between the Uganda Law Society and the UK Ugandan Lawyers Association, which offers really, really very good news. So thank you so much for being with us. I'd like to thank the senior members of Uganda Law Society, the Radical Bar. Thank you so much for ensuring that you have made sure that this MOU, so many MOUs go to rest, but you've made sure that actually together we move it across so that it can actually become a reality other than just one of the documents on the shelf. Thank you so much. I would also like to thank all the members of the bar, both for the Uganda Law Society and the ULA, which is the UK Ugandan Lawyers Association. Thank you for the panel, all the panelists. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for everybody who has actually spared time to attend today and to participate in this very, very important discussion. A discussion which is not only going to benefit us as lawyers, advocates, but a discussion which is also going to uplift our country at large. And it is not only us who are benefiting from it, it is everybody going to benefit, because behind every lawyer, there is a family, there is a child, there are dependents. You know what I mean? So anything which is going to uplift us is going to uplift them. And in terms of investment, where there is no legal security, no investor is going to touch that country, believe you not. Because when you look at legal security, everybody's going to look at how safe is the legal system. What if I invest my money in that particular country? How safe am I? Where do I go when things go wrong? So if you don't have a robust legal system and you don't have, sound lawyers who have got the capacity to represent, capacity to really make sure that the contracts which are signed are adhered to, the custodian of the law, no investor is going to touch our country, period. That is a real fact. So advocates or lawyers, we do have a key role to play when it comes to the development of our country. So I am so pleased to be on this platform, to be among the people who are pioneering this relationship of ensuring that Ugandan lawyers are actually jumping or advancing, those who have already jumped, but they are also advancing into the international forum. So some of you who might not be aware, I'll just give a brief background of who ULA is. Who is the UK Ugandan Lawyers Association? And I think that is so important for some of our members. I know those who know, sorry to repeat myself, but for some of our members who were not aware about this MOU, I'll just give you just a small background of who ULA is. UK Ugandan Lawyers Association, first of all, we are Ugandans. All of us are Ugandans, that's the criteria. And we are living and working in the UK. So it is as simple as that. So with the UK's legal system, we have the members are solicitors, barristers, legal executives, paralegals, but we also have law students as our members. So we do not believe that actually to become a member, you have to first qualify, because we do believe in mentoring our young lawyers before even they become fully advocates, to be among the people who are practicing, such that when they eventually qualify, they know actually how the whole thing works. So we were established in 2020. And this was during the lockdown. So although there had been several ideas of people talking about this happening, but we hadn't basically kicked off. So starting in 2020, that was during COVID-19. And I think this is a situation whereby sometimes when you have situations or problems, they can actually push you into finding solution. We found out that many people were experiencing, especially those Ugandans who are in the diaspora, namely in the UK, they were experiencing problems, like some of them were being evicted, some had immigration issues, some their contracts had come to the end, the world had come to the standstill. Now you can imagine someone who is being who is being vacated, or they are being deported, for instance, for some issues, and they were lacking legal advice. So as Ugandan lawyers, we had to come together and be able to give pro bono free legal advice to the members of our community, the Ugandans. But what surprised us actually quite was because we started getting even calls and emails from Uganda, from people from Uganda seeking for the legal advice. But it was absolutely quite substantial that took place. So that led us to come together to start this organization. So our main objective, basically, there are like four. The first one, obviously, because we are diaspora, it was to start providing legal support to the diaspora, to members of the diaspora community. Ugandans, I think for some people who have not lived outside Uganda might not see the importance of having someone who can support you when you're experiencing so many difficult issues and you have nowhere to go. And legal what do I call it? Legal advice is absolutely expensive where we are. So we were seeing so many Ugandans in our communities struggling, unfair dismiss at employment, having immigration issues, their children were being taken away and nowhere to turn to. You see, so that is one of our main objectives, is to support to support Ugandans in the diaspora. In fact, at the moment, we do have what we call a legal clinic. We are working very closely with the Uganda High Commission here in London, whereby Ugandans on every third Wednesday of the month, they come and be able to seek free legal support such that they can be supported. So the other objective is we serve as a platform for mentoring and supporting aspiring lawyers, Ugandan lawyers. We are a bit discriminative. It's got to be Ugandan. It's basically we are supporting Ugandan lawyers. So some of those who have trained or who have worked in the UK or come, you know how difficult it is to penetrate the UK legal system. It is being an advocate here, it is still seen as a white collar job. And so if you're not within the circles, for some of those who started practicing in the UK or to enter into the legal market, we suffered a lot of hurdles in a sense. But us as Ola, being there to support our fellow Ugandans, to be able to have it smooth, such that by the time they finish law school, at least they can be able to get jobs. They're being mentored, they're being given an opportunity, has absolutely made a lot of changes to so many of our Ugandan lawyers who have come over to practice. So another thing which we do, the third objective, is to participate in the development of Ugandan policies and laws and legal practice. Basically, Ugandans in the diaspora, we feel we are Ugandans, and in Uganda you make laws and they affect us. And the members of the Ugandan community, you have had our president clearly saying how much we contribute to Ugandan economy. $1.4 billion Ugandans contribute in the diaspora, contribute to the Ugandan economy through remittances and investments and all that. So for the Ugandans in the diaspora not to have a say on the policies which are being developed in Uganda, it is actually not justice. So we don't cease to become Ugandan simply because we've jumped on a plane and gone abroad to seek greener pastures. So the policies, we as the ULA, we are advocating to make sure that at least all Ugandans who are abroad, they are also thought about. We have, for instance, just participated on the 28th of June in the development of the Uganda diaspora policy. And this is a policy which looks at the engagement of the Ugandan diasporas, wherever they are, in terms of mapping their skills and how they can invest back home, and how to see that actually their voices are heard, so that we are part of that development at the same time. So that is something which we do as ULA. And another one, last but not least, is to cooperate with other professional development, such as Uganda Law Society. We are lawyers, we are advocates, we are members of the legal fraternity. It doesn't make sense us doing the things which we are doing if we are actually Ugandans and we are not working in partnership with the Uganda Law Society. And with that, I give a big thank you to the leadership of President Semakade for embracing this. In fact, when it was brought up, it's like, this is absolutely very good. And within a very short time, we developed this memorandum of understanding, which we have signed for 10 years, which will outlive us. The benefits are absolutely quite a lot. And what we are saying, for instance, like today, what we are doing, a discussion which is started in the office of the ULS when I last visited in February in Uganda. It has absolutely continued to this, and so many people are going to benefit because of that absolute beautiful leadership which Uganda Law Society has got. So that the MOU, just to be very brief, the main objective of this MOU Uganda Law Society has got with ULS, in brief, I'll just mention, just to move on, in the interest of time, the main objective is to facilitate cooperation and share knowledge experience, and expertise. So when you're opening up, like the way we are opening up the borders, we need to share, what we have here or what you have over there, we share together. And together, when we share knowledge and expertise, we are stronger. So we are going to establish a cross-border referral system. That is one of the objectives, whereby I can't be working on the case here and counsel from a law firm in Chamley can be working on the same case. How do we work on that to again look at the issues which the president has mentioned about underemployment, unemployment of advocates, and also increase in our income. So also collaboration. We are going to be looking at that. How do we collaborate together? Another objective is training and capacity building. So the president has mentioned about how our education system has not looked at the international law and other subjects, for instance, arbitration, ADR, international arbitration, for instance. How are you going to resolve these disputes when you don't have the actual knowledge? How are you going to tap into that without understanding how these disputes are resolved, the international trade laws, how everything fit in? That is not going to make us competitive. But as ULA, or we are already trading or practicing in that international forum, we can share the trainings, we can share the knowledge. And this is what one of the objectives of this 10-year MOU, such that we can get all our Ugandan advocates on the same platform. You don't have to be in the UK to deal with an international case. You can be in Kampala and be able to deal with an international case. You don't have to be in Kampala. So this is one of the, as long as you have the capacity building, the mentorship, which we are also do provide. So basically it is all in all, to another last objective is to develop the legal profession, development of ULA members, the UK Ugandan Lawyers Association members, and the ULS members. As long as you are a member, we are not leaving you behind. Now that I have set the scene of what, who we are as ULA, and also the MOU, which we do have, the question is how to make yourself competitive in an international market. And this is the gist of the discussion today. How do we do it? We are in Uganda, and those of you, wherever they are, but yes, this is a start. Some of those who have done it, well done on your own. But for those who haven't done it, please, these are some of the tips which you can do. And I've got about 10 tips which I can give our members. The first one, please look beyond Uganda as an advocate or as a lawyer. Look beyond Uganda. And when you say look beyond Uganda, we are not only focusing on foreigners, non-Ugandans. If you read the new vision of 3rd of July 2024, it reported that over 4 million Ugandans are in the diaspora. 4 million Ugandans are in the diaspora. And believe you me, all those 4 million Ugandans need lawyers. This is a market which is already there for you as advocates. So if you think that the only case which you're going to resolve is the case which is in Masaka, is the only case which is in Kampala, or no, there is an already market there. And statistics are very clear that actually people who have gone abroad, they earn more than an average Ugandan. The president has just said that 150K majority of the Ugandans are earning. It is absolutely sad. And I know as a fact that many people who live abroad, they earn well way further than that. So you as an advocate, when you're looking at actually the market, you're also looking at somebody who can pay your bills. So this is a market which Ugandan lawyers need to tap in. So there is a Ugandan diaspora market which is ready there for you, 4 million. In fact, according to the International Organization for Migration, in a report 2006, it is estimated that 750,000 people of Ugandan origin live in the UK. 750,000. Part of that is the Ugandan Asian, but also the majority of them are people who are the indigenous Ugandans who are like Black, like you and I. So that is a huge market to tap in. And most of these people who are the diaspora living in the UK, for instance, they need lawyers. They are doing investment. They are sending money. They are having land disputes. They are having, trying to get their children moving abroad or wherever it is. They need your services. But there was a lack of a system whereby it is there to access that particular service. And some of them are like, oh, which Ugandan lawyer should I go to? Well, ULS and Ola have provided that opportunity. So that, look beyond Uganda. The market is big. You can access it. So once you have that mindset, you are on the way of making yourself competitive. So that I'm only not going to focus what is happening here. I'm going to focus also outside Uganda. And also we have investors. Now Uganda Airlines has started flying direct flights. So the more freedom of movement and everything happens, actually, the more conflict also comes. Conflict will always be there, and advocates will have to be well positioned to be there to resolve this conflict. So that means trade, business is moving, that increment into that. That means those are ready jobs which are waiting for you to do. Okay. Another second point is specialize. I know most of our advocates, they do almost everything. They are, but with all due respect, no one can be good at each and everything. Even you yourself, even if you have two hands, one hand is slightly stronger than the other one, and yet they're both on the same body. So that is a reality. I find it, I'm trying to encourage you to find what you're very good at and what you can just do ease and with interest, but also find yourself your niche. Like for me, my niche was more into ADR. I absolutely like ADR, arbitration and all that, and contracts. But at the same time, I do love family work. So you will not find me going so much into criminal law cases, even though I can do them, but I try to focus on where your strengths are. In the international market, whereby many of these international clients, they want to instruct someone who is the best in the field. Who is the best in the field? I'll give you an example. My son, he's a young man, but he's actually doing whatever he's doing. He's into creative art. He developed games. And I had offered to give him legal advice under my firm, obviously here in the UK, about some contracts which he was signing with an American company. But he said to me, no, your specialism is not in creative art. I'm not going to give you this. Money is not an issue. I want the best. He didn't give me the work, and yet he's my son. And he contracted a London City firm, which is dealing with that particular piece of work, the best. If you want to penetrate, the reason why I'm giving you that live example is the international market, they want the best in that field. So if you know you're very good in trade law, focus on that and excel. Don't be just an ordinary lawyer, be the extraordinary person and excel and get the knowledge. So the third point is expand your knowledge. Once you've already thought, yeah, this is my niche. Let me say I'm into oil and gas or real estate. Try to make sure that you do expand your knowledge in that field and go into international. Don't only look at things which are happening local. look at what is happening actually in the international field in that specific area of law which you want to expand it. Okay, so the continuous education, attend conferences, be a member of those organizations such that actually you are known as a player in this particular field. So basically come out of your shelf. Okay, so the fourth point is know your competitor and the current trend. Ugandan law advocates, we can no longer decide to just sit in Uganda and think the world has stopped. Know your competitor. Why are they good? How are they doing things differently? And how can I join? In fact, don't make them enemies. Learn from them. You know, for some of us who are working so much in the international arena, like in the international commercial arbitration, it's like we know almost each and every person who is in that field. You know everybody and you are learning from them. Be able to come out of your shell and be able to know the current trends. I encourage you to know what is happening what is happening in the international forums. The fifth one is the network and connection. Well, Ulla has already provided you the network. We are there, and each one of us, we are having over 155 members. Okay, each one of them have got law firms they're working in, they're dealing in different expertise of law. That is a network which is there for you to access as ULS members. So if you have an issue or whatever it is, I don't see why you shouldn't contact us and email us, and we'll be able to put you in connection with whoever can be able to support you in that particular field. Another sixth point is affiliation and partnerships. This is so important. If you want to break and be competitive, you cannot work single-handed in this field. See, we look at how you can form partnerships with some of the Ugandan UK lawyer firms, and it doesn't have to be Ugandan. It can be maybe Indian, Chinese, all those who are working. If a firm is in Kenya, try and see how you can be working with them, form partnership. Remember, the market, like the cake is too big. It's not a competition. I can tell you that the market is too big that there are so many jobs. Each one of us can actually eat on that cake and it is still remaining. Because the fact is, the world is needing us as advocates, because disputes will always be there. Investment will always be there. And there are not many lawyers. Well, I'll put it, there are not very many very good lawyers. They're not there. So if you put yourself in the market, there is no way you cannot make it. So don't fear competition. Another thing, again, mentorship opportunities. Like in ULA, obviously, we do mentor our members, to become the best of the best. So that is something which actually you need to be looking at, because as you know, our education system does not address some of this. We did not learn it in law school. Sadly, it is still crippled, but you can't say that, well, we will never jump simply because we were not given an opportunity. So what I'm saying, you can learn that through the continuous education and the mentorship opportunities. Follow somebody, even if you're not doing that direct, find who is your mentor, who can actually support you, who can hold your hand, reach out. Don't just stay there. That is the only way you're going to penetrate the international market. It is kind of like going like what the president ULS has said, that it's the fear of the unknown. But if you have a senior who has been there, that is going to be easier for you, because you can always cross-check, am I doing this right? Can you support me? And we are there to support you. So for us, what we are trying to do is to kind of like to turn the wheel. Why are Ugandan cases? For me, this breaks my heart. Why are Ugandan cases up to now, even when you look at the government, some of the people who they are instructing when it comes to the international commercial arbitration, why are they instructing white law firms based in the UK? What's wrong with the Ugandans? Why are we not given the jobs? And the reason could be, rightly so, that we don't have the capacity, we don't have the knowledge. Now, this is a start. We can develop this knowledge, because if you look at our oil and gas laws, we have what we call local content. The government has got to justify as to why they are not giving us jobs as Ugandan advocates and why they are instructing. But the key thing is that, do we have the capacity to take on that international work? Now, ULA and ULS are here to develop this, to see that actually we carry our members and they have the capacity, and then we can say, look, we can do this work. So we are Ugandans, we are the best people to represent Ugandans on Uganda as a country on an international case. And it will be my dream to see that those cases which are being, brought here in the UK in the arbitration cases are instructed by Ugandan lawyers, and they are the ones on the bench. That's a dream come true. And hopefully this MOU which we have, it will lead to that. The seventh, going to wrap up because of time, is branding. Branding about yourself as an individual advocate, but also as a law firm, is extremely important if you want to become a competitor in this market. Social media, please don't misuse it. Don't misuse it. Don't just post there things which are you're going to wake up tomorrow and regret. Don't post there things whereby you are, glorifying terrorism, torture, and all that kind of stuff as if it is fun. When you're coming into the international market, they don't look at that as fun. Somebody is being tortured and you're praising that like, oh, it is fun. Yeah, as an advocate, as lawyers, we are the elite. We are the learned friend. We are expected to do better. So mark what you are posting about yourself on social media if you want to compete and to engage with the international, because here they will judge you. They will not want an advocate to affiliate or associate themselves with a law firm, which is there glorifying terrorism. It's not going to happen, I can tell you that. Even if you have those views, keep them to yourself. As advocates, we are supposed to be independent and have a sound mind, and ensure that actually we are the one who are fighting for the truth and the human rights. So branding yourself is extremely important if you're going to make to be competitive in this international market. And you could say, this is all about my life. Why am I hiding? I want to be whoever I want to be. I'm afraid your personal life is part of you. When we look at you as an advocate, it is part of you, and we'll scrutinize it. So it will take you out. The number 8 is adjust to the international work standards. Council Semaka, the senior counsel, has mentioned it. This laid back of ethics and not actually doing what the international standard expects is going to be a big problem for you. I know when we were at law school, we all had, we did ethics, professional ethics, but most of us kind of basically just left it there, and we don't actually practice what we were taught at law school. We just left it there completely. You see what I mean? Well, if you're going to compete in the international market, they expect you to have those professional ethic classes which you attended. There is no excuse at all. So that is absolutely going to come out. And in the future engagement, or the engagement which we're going to have, or trainings, we will be having some of those lessons or the workshops about the international standards, what they expect. Because remember, we are looking at how do you make yourself attractive or competitive? No one is going to get a lawyer who is not professional. It's not going to happen. The meeting, some of these, if you engage so much into these international deals, the client, they will say somebody is in Hong Kong, another one is in New York, you are in London or in Kampala, you're signing an agreement, for instance, and 10 is 10. I don't know how many times I had to set myself an alarm to wake up at 3 a.m. to honor that agreement. You don't have those excuses. It rained, it snowed, my cat died, or my auntie, it was the funeral. Those are not going to happen. So the international standard, we have to adhere to it. The ninth one, embrace ICT and legal research. Please, if you're going to operate in an international standard, this is a start. We are all logged into Zoom, which is absolutely very good. But embrace those law firms or individuals who don't have data, network. When you're going to engage these international clients, please, whether you're going to hire a hotel where you're going to be, please, they are not going to hear that, oh, we needed some connection, we have connection issues and everything. Try and make sure that actually that is part of the investment which you are going to invest in yourself. ICT, good laptop, a good phone which will have connectivity, and also legal research. The database. I know so many law firms which don't have even an electronic legal database. I would say such that a case, when it comes out, like for instance, in an international arbitration, you need to be, if you're in that field, you need to be aware of it. Now, all that information is saved electronically. You can access it. So kind of like a bit of investment. You cannot keep on being on the back foot all the time. Last but not the least is data protection. I know many of our friends sometimes look at, they use WhatsApp as a way of communicating. Now, sometimes there is a lot of people a bit loose with the data. Here in the UK, for instance, if you're going to engage with us who are practicing in the UK, for instance, we have the Information Commissioner Office. If there is any form of data protection breach, whatever it is, it's got to be reported to the law is very clear. It's got to be reported within 72 hours that there was a breach, and the fine, if they find you guilty of a data protection breach, the fine can go up to £8.7 million. Now, for any firm to start working with you in Uganda, they are very, because if you do a breach, it is going to affect them. So they need to be absolutely very sure that the way you handle clients' information is, it is to that standard. Because if you do a breach, it's going to affect them, not only financially, it's going to affect their reputation. They're going to lose clients, and some people are going to be dismissed in terms of employment. So with those 10 tips, I'll be sharing in the end. I think the moderator will share those few presented comments in my presentation such that you can have them. But my question is, as I conclude, how can ULA, UK Ugandan Lawyers Association, assist ULS members to make sure that actually we bring you along or we work together to advance? Because for us, we feel as Ugandans, the cake is there in the international field and we can eat, all of us. I don't see why some lawyers are not making it financially. We are here to pull you as well, such that actually at least we are on the same level in a sense. We are not very rich, but at least we are not very poor. You see what I mean? So we are able to do the job which we enjoy, but at the same time to earn a living. So we would like to know what kind of trainings you would like in. We would like to know what areas you like in terms of specializing, and such that we can recommend and see which law firms or which of our colleagues can be able to work with you. Thank you so much for that time. And anyone who has got questions, they can put it in the chat and I will hand over to the moderator. But I thank you so much for attending today's meeting. And I'm looking forward to this engagement such that we carry all our learned friends and Ugandan advocates to be able to develop and be able to earn and support our country develop. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, our President, Francis. This was very informative. I can see the chats going off. Beza said she's going to look for you soon. We are excited. I think you can attest to the day that we discussed this. The first day I was extremely blown away. The opportunities are immense. The pointers are many. And I promise I'm going to share her presentation in the chat in a few, or use the screen share and share some of the information that she has given us. So thank you so very much. For anyone who has a question, kindly post it in the chat. I will be sure to ask it at the end of the presentation. So at this juncture, I'm going to introduce our next speaker. Our next speaker, everyone, I would like you to welcome Joy Chakwita. She is the speaker of the UK Ugandan Lawyers Association, and is a distinguished immigration lawyer and senior social worker with expertise in asylum applications, deportation cases, and safeguarding children. Joy has built a remarkable career in the UK, making a significant impact in her community. Let's give Joy a warm welcome. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Diana. Good afternoon, friends. I think it is already midday back home, and good morning here. Thank you so much for bringing us together today, and thank you to our President Isaac, for honoring this invitation and gracing this occasion. And of course, my President Francis, thank you so much for a wonderful presentation about our role and our desire to work with the Uganda Law Society. Thank you so much, the committee, Uganda Law Society. It is good to share this house together today. So my name is Joy Chakwita. I graduated from Makerere University, so I may be having some classmates online here as well. And like what Fran was talking about, it's about looking beyond. So I came to the UK to study my master's in law at Kingston University in 2003. And while I was studying, like again, what Francis was saying, look out what is out there. You can find yourself just working in McDonald's and you become so skilled, but you look out as you apply for jobs, what is there? So at least you stay in a legal environment that can give you clues as to what is available. So when I enrolled at Kingston University, I got a job as a casework assistant with the biggest organization in immigration. And so I worked very hard, like they say, whatever you do it well, and somebody's watching. So of course they saw something in me that they thought was good. So they paid for me to do what we call like the England Law Society exams to be an immigration lawyer. And again, going back to what my president was talking about, specialization, specializing, pick an area where you think you can thrive, pick an area where you think there is a gap, and that's where you can fit in, and then of course you get a job. So when I was doing my master's in dispute resolution, again I did arbitration as well. I was doing exams again with a view of getting a work permit. So I got a work permit. Again, I'm going to be talking about immigration. That is what I've come to do today. But again, as a speaker of the UK Ugandan lawyers, I'm trying to bridge this so you see that it's practical. We've been through it. I am an example of, graduating from Uganda, from Makerere, and coming here to do masters and then getting on, getting to practice in the UK. So, I did the exams, which I passed, and then I started working as an immigration lawyer. I have been an immigration lawyer for over 16 years. The past 2 years, I've focused on social work. But just so you know, it is possible when you specialize, you become the best. I used to train, other lawyers. I used to have other lawyers who have just arrived, who are still studying here in our law firm, to mentor them, to give them reports and references. We help them to make applications. They come and shadow. We provide them those opportunities because, when you are here and you're a student, immigrant and you know somebody like me, I can know somebody, because we know most immigration lawyers anyway in London. If you're coming to the UK, we can make reference for you to go to another law firm where you can shadow, because what you want is not to be de-skilled when you're in the UK. And that is what we come to offer. Like what the president, Isaac was saying, that, sometimes the skill, maybe you need to sharpen that up a little bit. So when you come here, well, you are doing part-time maybe as a cleaner to make a living, but also part-time you are shadowing a lawyer who is going to court, you're preparing bundles, you're taking witness statements. These are the kind of things we offer to our colleagues who come from Uganda, to our colleagues who are here with children who are studying law. So there is a help. And when we have a hub like this memorandum where you can go, for example, to Diana, to the Uganda Law Society, they will tell you, oh, you're going there to do your masters. We got Joe, we got Fran, we got Ula. They will be like you're welcoming home. While you are here, we help you to write the CV. We guide you on what is available here. So please make use of us. Make use of us while we are here. So my role is to give you an overview about immigration law. So I know everybody in the UK seems to know something about immigration law, but it's not that straightforward. And all of us who have come here have encountered the difficulty in making these applications in different categories. And I believe so many of you people have heard about somebody whose visa has been refused, and these applications are very expensive. But again, that's why we are lawyers. We are the ones who are going to be helping other people to make applications. I can only speak for the UK because I'm a UK immigration lawyer. I may have ideas about Canada and the US, but today I'm talking about the UK. And like Francis said, we specialize. So I specialize in the UK immigration. You can turn it upside down, any questions on immigration to the UK, and I will be able to answer that. So I'm just going to, they're going to share the slide. Is very short. I'm going to talk about, the structures, the processes, and then quickly wrap up. And then I give you the chance to ask me questions. So we talk about the primary legislation and the secondary legislation. And the key areas, I'll talk about the key areas of immigration law in the UK and the rights and responsibilities, because when they give you the visa, you have the rights and you also have the responsibilities. You need to know that. And employment expectations in the UK and what ULA can do for you. So straight away, I'll go to the primary legislation. So we have this old law, which every immigration lawyer or anybody making an application to come to the UK should know about. Of course, for you as lawyers, you're going to be guiding people. But again, for those ones who are wishing to come and they need to know that which law you need to satisfy in order to come to the UK. So the Immigration Act 1971, which regulates entry, stay, and departure of individuals from the UK. So it talks about who can live in the UK and what you need to do to be able to live in the UK. It talks about work permits and settlement. Like myself, I had a work permit. Work permits are given for 5 years. After 5 years, you get what we call settlement or indefinite leave to remain. So it will talk about what you need to do in order to get settlement and what you need to do in order to get the work permits. So I'm going to be breaking it down, but as for now, I'm just going to run through so you know. These are the key legislations. So it also talks about appeals and deportations. So when immigration decisions are made, and for example, you get a refusal, there is the remedy, you can appeal, but not all decisions are appealable. So again, it's for the lawyers to know what decision is appealable. And that's why, again, you need a lawyer because they will know. Of course, sometimes the decision will tell you whether you can appeal, how many days you go to appeal, and why you can appeal. But again, that's when you need a lawyer to help you to do that. So now we have also the Human Rights Act, which is 1998. This is what incorporates the rights which are set out in the European Convention on Human Rights, which I think most lawyers there are using. So under the Human Rights Act, we have what we call fundamental rights, and under that we have the right to life. So most people who have applied for asylum, maybe it's because they feel their life is going to be in danger. So we use the Article 2, what we call the right to life. And also we have the Article 3, which is the freedom from torture. So most asylum applications are based on Article 2 and Article 3. And again, you will be saying, but is it only for asylum? We also use these articles when we are dealing with the medical cases. Say, for example, you are in the UK and you're getting cancer treatment, and you don't have the visa, and which means you can't really access treatment, and at the same time they want you to leave the country. So when you get a lawyer like me and some of my colleagues, we are able to fight these cases by using the Human Rights Act, by saying that, you know, if they stop the treatment, you are going to almost imminently die upon arrival in Uganda or whichever country you're coming from. And also the treatment, you know, the experience you would go through, you know, before you die would actually amount to what we call Article 3, because it would be degrading and inhuman. So we use that in asylum and also use it in medical cases. So these are things that are not tick boxed. Again, that is where I shine more, because I love complex cases which go beyond sections, and which we use case laws and all that. So then we also have what everybody keeps saying, I have the right to family life. Now, as we all know as lawyers, family life, you know, the right private life and family life is qualified. So you need a lawyer to help you to really make sure your case is stronger than just the ordinary. But normally we look at people who are trying to make applications to come to the UK, you know, as parents, as children, or spouses. So again, that's another area that we use when we are applying, and you know, the Human Rights Act. So the Human Rights Act also now brings, you know, like a duty, you know, or it requires the local authorities, you know, to respect and protect the human rights. So whichever decision that you make, for example, us who work with the local authorities or the courts or anybody who is like considered to be like in public, who is making decisions that affect people, you have to make sure that your decision does not infringe people's rights as enshrined in the Human Rights Act. So again, the Human Rights Act also introduced a system where you can actually go to a UK court without necessarily having to go to the European Court of Human Rights to have a redress in case you feel that your rights have been violated. So again, this Human Rights Act also requires, the UK Parliament to make laws that respect those human rights. So these are the kind of things that we do. I'm just giving you this background that you can actually use the Human Rights Act that you guys are also already studying in Uganda to come here and practice here as long as you're registered. So the other primary legislation is the British Nationality Act. So basically, this one talks about who can, how you can become British, the different categories of citizenship. For example, you can become British by registration, that is for the minors, usually by naturalization for people like us who came as Ugandans, and then after a certain period of time, we became British. And then you can also, by birth, and also if you're British, your child is British automatically. If you're British at the time when your child is born British. So it's important for you to understand these things as lawyers, or as you give advice, and sometimes as you work with us, and maybe you have a client who is trying to say, I want to go to the UK, or just to check and see where your parents British or something like that. And if you send an email to somebody like me or my colleagues, we shall be able to give you this information. Again, that is part of working in partnership with the Uganda Law Society lawyers. Yeah, so then we have the most radical, legislation, which came in force in 2002, and it's called the Nationality, Immigration and Asylum Act. Now, this was a changer in immigration law, and it affected so many people. So it talks about, of course, nationality provisions. It brought into, action the requirements, like for English language. So you must pass the English test, or you have a degree. And even if you have a degree from Uganda, it has to be certified. It has to be verified, because for some reason, I don't know why the UK doesn't believe that Ugandan, degree certificates are genuine. I have no idea. When I came here, they used to just accept the UK degree certificate without any verification. But right now, even if you have a UK degree certificate, you must have it verified. So again, you need a lawyer to help help you to get those documents verified, you must show or demonstrate that you have the English language by having that certificate. So also to naturalize or to become British, you need what we call Life in the UK test. Now, some of you have heard about the Life in the UK test. In fact, they say some British people wouldn't even pass this test. They will ask you questions about, like, say, where does the Prime Minister live? You know, what's the name of that house where they make these rules? Now, these are things that we can help you about, like to prepare you in case you're making those kind of applications. This is information which is available. We can give you links, you know, for your clients, you know, to access. So, and also this act also talks about deprivation of citizenship. Maybe you've heard about, there was that big story of a young British girl of Asian background who joined the Taliban, you know, and she was British. When she wanted to come back, they stopped her. They couldn't allow her, you know, to come back because they said, you know, her ideas or, you know, her actions were not in public interest, were against British values. So they can actually take away your citizenship. And again, my colleague Fran was talking about it, saying that, you know, your character is very important. What do you post? Who do you engage with? Because you see, these things can come back to you when they are assessing what they call the good character under the Nationality Act. So it's very important that you don't leave trails of things that the government would think you're a person who is not of good character. Yeah, so again, this act talks about asylum processes or procedures and support. So when you say, for example, you have to be in the UK to apply for asylum. If you come, say, to the airport, some people come illegally using boats. You know, if you come, you must apply for asylum on arrival. So again, this act talks about that because there are consequences. Say, for example, if you come in and then you don't apply for asylum on arrival and you apply a few days later or after you've been arrested, you know, the chances are that they're not going to believe your story. They might think you're doing it for convenience, or they might also think that actually you're fabricating, and also the support you get is different, because you can't say that you came to visit somebody who took you in for 5 days and then all of a sudden you are saying I'm homeless. But again, when you have lawyers like us, we can help you to address all those things, because we believe that every person is different, and depending on maybe your fear of authorities, or maybe not knowing how to do things, you were scared, maybe that's why you didn't claim asylum on arrival. So, or maybe you were misled. So these are the things that lawyers do, you know, when they're protecting their clients or helping their clients to pursue their cases. So also the act talks about the detention and removal. Maybe some of you have heard that actually somebody is detained in the UK under immigration powers. Now, it is, you know, the law provides for the Secretary of State to detain you if they believe, for example, that you are here illegally, or they believe they can make a quick decision to remove, you know, on your asylum application, or sometimes if they want to deport you. So you need a lawyer like us, or maybe you have a friend, maybe, you know, through referrals in Uganda, someone has told you is in detention. You can contact us. We know how to make these bail applications. So again, you know, just to show you that the law is there and we can work with you as well. And the immigration affects everybody who is in the UK, who wasn't born here. And even if you were born here and you want to bring your grandmother, you will need an immigration lawyer. And the law is here for the lawyers to apply it to bring in your people. So we go to the second legislation, which we call the immigration rules. Now, when I came here, we used to have books. So you would carry a big book every time you were going to court, and then every 6 months they were like bringing in new sections or appendixes, and then it just became a bigger book. Then with the time we got smartphones, we were able to go to court with the laptops, and now we no longer print off immigration rules. But just so you know, it's a massive document, and the Home Office keeps updating it. So it sets out regulations that govern immigration to the UK. I'm sure some of you who have made applications to come to the UK have seen, you know, the decision makers saying, according to the immigration rules, you haven't met this rule, or you must meet the following requirements under the rules. So under the rules, they talk about the categories. For example, what we call the point-based system. So anybody who is trying to come to the UK as a student, as a worker, you must meet the point-based system. So they talk about, of course, English, they talk about your finances, ability to support yourself, and they talk about, for example, for the workers, the salary, and also your skills. If you have a degree or master's, you score more points. So please keep upgrading your skills, keep, advancing in your studies. These things count when you start looking beyond Uganda. If you want to come to Uganda and you have master's degree, you're going to score more points. And again, when people are giving salaries, when you get a job, when you have masters, they give you more money. So again, this is a tip to add on what my colleague Fran was telling you, that, look beyond and brand yourself, prepare yourself. So we talk about the family migration. Again, I've told you, like, if you want to bring your child, for those who are here already, you want to bring your partner, you want to bring your parents, the rules again specify how you can do it, and the requirements. Money is very important. Relationship is very important when it comes to this. And we actually sometimes request for DNA when it comes to this. I know there have been so many stories in the news about DNA. I just want to say that it's a normal thing for us here in the UK to ask for DNA if we are applying for somebody to come to the UK. Sometimes the Home Office disputes that a birth certificate, as we know, most Ugandans don't get birth certificates when, at birth or just a few days after birth. They get them a few years later. So the Home Office sometimes disputes the information shared on there as to whether you are related. So we tend to request for DNA as well, just so you know it's a normal thing. And also we talk about the relationship. You must be related, of course, with the DNA, and also it goes beyond just DNA. That you have to show that you are supporting, you have a bond that goes beyond just the love that you share. And also the rules also stipulate the asylum and humanitarian protection and the guidelines for seeking asylum, which I've already told you about. It talks about the visas, the requirements, intention to return to your country, ability to maintain yourself when you're in the UK. And again, we know how to break down those things for those ones who want to come for training, those ones who are in transit, or you just want to come and have an experience. We can write letters to support your applications. If you just want to come for, maybe for CPD, training, please, you engage us again as your other home, away from home. So the rules again stipulate settlement and indefinite leave to remain, what you need. I've already told you about having first, you must have lived here for a certain period of time. And again, you must do the Life in the UK test. And then you must pass your English test as well. And again, they talk about good character. If your character is an issue, if, for example, you've been glorifying terrorism, like what my colleague has told you, how do you glorify terrorism? Retweeting. Just simply retweeting, it means you're glorifying. And also putting a laughing emoji, where somebody is being tortured, that is like glorifying. And then actively posting things on social media. These things come up. I know some of you might think, oh, how would they know? But I can tell you that when you're going to the US and you want a US visa, you must disclose all your social media handles. And actually, they find out. They don't check on everybody, but you never know. They can easily check, and you may be unlucky, and they find that maybe you retweeted something or reposted something where somebody was saying, glorifying terrorism or inhuman, degrading treatment, things which are against the values. And again, here, I'll be honest with you, if about homosexuality, maybe I've retweeted something about homosexuality, you're trying to apply for a job in a company where the director is a gay man or a lesbian, these things are going to come up. Because once you start looking beyond Uganda, you even learn to accommodate other people as they come, and you focus on the business that you do, regardless of your values or religion or whatever you believe in as an individual. You are going beyond yourself when you start operating at this level. So we talk about, again, in the rules, we talk about the deportation and removal, an area which I like very much. So you could be here, you have a visa, but you see, once you commit a crime, after you have served your sentence, there's what we call automatic deportation. So again, you will need to think about your behavior while you are in the UK. If you commit a crime, they can cancel your visa and remove you. Even if you have indefinite leave to remain, they can take it away and try to deport you. You will need lawyers like us again. Or you guys may have friends who are facing deportation and removal. Then we can guide them on how to get around that. But otherwise, it's always automatic. And without legal support, like what Fan was saying, all these 4 million Ugandans living abroad are experiencing immigration hardships one way or the other. So I'm saying all these things just to make you love immigration law as an area, because when I was at Makerere University, we never studied immigration law as an area of specialism. But when you start looking beyond, maybe you could focus more about European law and human rights. Those are areas that can easily help you to settle into these areas of practice if you are looking at, for example, relocating to the UK. I have said so many things, Diana. I would like to pause here and maybe take some questions. Thank you so much for listening in. Diana? Diana?
Yes, please. Yes, Joy.
Yeah, I thought I've talked so much. Maybe I could pause here a little bit, just take in some questions.
Yes. Yes. So, Joy, there were some questions that were coming through as you were speaking. Let me start from Daniel. No, Ayebare Precious says that in a country like the UK, the constitution is not written. So how are foreigners able to know those fundamental laws from the constitution?
That's a good question, and that's why we are here. That's why we are here, and that's why in my presentation, which Diana you're going to share, I talked about primary legislation, and I also talked about the secondary legislation. So this is the law. And again, the good thing about the UK is that the law is live on the internet. So if you reach out to us, we can actually, like say, compress it for you, because for us, this is what we do all the time. So yeah, it is true. But you see, we got lawyers, you got lawyers. And for us, we know how to access that law. But again, like, through these kind of, meetings like this, we bring it to your table and say, this is the primary legislation. If you're looking at immigration law as an area, next time I may come back as a social worker, and I'm going to be telling about what we have in family law. But again, you will see some of the human rights are going to come in family law as well, like the Article 8. It will come in every time when we talk about family, family law as well. And what Fran was saying is that we need to know which areas you're interested in, for example, employment law. And when we come back, we shall be giving you the employment law in the UK and how it works. So that's why you got us.
So Precious, I think that was pretty good. Someone is Barbara Achen is saying, I'm actually in the UK, but getting jobs with sponsorship is almost impossible, not to talk about training contracts. How can you help people already struggling in the UK and now opted for social care?
I know there is unemployment as well in the UK as well. But again, it depends on, I don't know whether you're a lawyer. I don't know which area you are in. I have no idea, but you can take my contacts. Take my contacts and we talk about this. But for the benefit of other people, say for example, we have so many people who came here under tier 5, the care workers. Maybe you heard about it. Now, all of a sudden, there are no jobs because most elderly people have died. These people came to work with the elderly people, and most elderly people have died. So when your client or your service user dies, you are left without a job. So we have so many people who came on care workers visas who have no jobs, which means that their sponsors can no longer get for them jobs, and now they are stuck. That is not my area. That's not my area because, of course, we are lawyers, but we can just maybe ask you about, like, say, what would you like to switch into? Unfortunately, some people have to go back to school. I can tell you that social workers here. I'm not saying that I'm recruiting lawyers to become social workers, but for somebody who has come here in that category, maybe they could consider going back to school, maybe to study, maybe to do a degree in social work, or do something that is going to be, available for them to work. But again, please contact me, because like it may be an individual situation that we can talk about and I can advise you.
Yes. Well, that was, thank you, Joy. More questions are coming through.
Yeah, I'm here. That's why I cut it short so I can address questions. Sure.
Yes, but I'm thinking we would have the last one as well before we proceed. However, were you done with your address?
Yeah, sure. Because I ran through like the categories of immigration, the most important thing with the law, which I've told you about, and also the expectations, and the most important thing, because this is like a dialogue about how we can work together. I was just trying to show you that for example, I'll give an example. My husband is a lawyer, and he had to be coming to Uganda to attend court hearings, and the client has to pay for the air ticket. And we are saying, if we have that kind of partnership where we know maybe we have partnership with law firms, instead of somebody having to travel to come from here to come and attend the court, we do the paperwork, we share the paperwork, and we share the proceeds as well. And say, for example, I have an immigration client. We need, for example, to get a custody order. Now, instead of me, Googling or looking for somebody, I can just come, for example, to the hub here at the Law Society, and then you tell me, oh, these people are very good at getting this. And then you get me the care order or the custody order while I'm dealing with the immigration aspect or in family proceedings here. So just again to show you that there is a lot of work that we can do together, take on cases together, and keep sharing and learning from each other, while at the same time earning a living.
Wow.
I want to end it there so my colleagues can come. I will be happy to take on more questions later. Thank you so much, Diana.
You're welcome, Joy. This was very insightful. The chat room is abuzz with thanks and happiness for everything that their minds are blown. Their minds are blown. The conversation has just opened, I would call a Pandora's box of questions that are very interesting, and people's minds are not quiet. However, we have to proceed. And the next speaker is our last speaker. And after that, we shall take as many questions as we can. For now, I want you to please welcome with me Aliza, I hope I have said that right, Aliza Sumaya Balunywa, a distinguished advocate and ULA member with expertise in civil litigation, legal research, and policy advisory. Aliza has built a strong legal career in Uganda and is now expanding her practice in the UK. As a qualified advocate of the High Court of Uganda and a solicitor in training in England and Wales, Aliza brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the table. Her commitment to legal empowerment, public service, and inclusive legal services makes her a valuable asset to our community. Let's give Aliza a warm welcome. Over to you. Yes, Aliza, we are waiting on you. I don't seem to see you on here. Francis, if you could help me reach out to her, please. Thank you.
Okay, hold on. Aliza is saying the host has muted. Can the host unmute her, please? But to unmute her audio and video, she has just switched laptops, please.
Okay, let me inform Ruth about this.
Okay.
Audio, that's it. Okay. It's now done. Thank you.
I think
Right.
there she is. There she
Yeah.
is.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sorry about that. I'd been communicating in the chat that I was muted, but you could not see it. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Loud
All
and
right.
clear. Yeah,
Good.
we can hear you.
All right. So yeah, as I've been introduced, my name is Aliza. Sorry, just a minute. My name is Aliza Sumaya Balunya. I was an advocate. I am still an advocate. I was an advocate practicing in Uganda for a long time, for about 7 years before I relocated to the UK. And I recently relocated to the UK. I've been here for I made 2 years in May. So it's just 2 years. I'm still new here. And that is why my topic of discussion is relocation to the UK as a Ugandan advocate, the lessons learned. And in the lessons learned, we have the do's and don'ts listed at the end of the discussion. So my discussion is basically going to be one conversation one about my personal experience, and I hope you're able to pick some lessons from it at the end of the day, so that when you come around, you have a bit of guidance on what you should or should not do in terms of relocating to the UK. So obviously, as Joy has discussed, people relocate to the UK for various reasons, and some of them come on skilled work visas. So depending on the skilled work visa and what it entails, their visas limit what skilled work they're supposed to do. Like she talked about people who came on the care work visa, that means you're probably going to only work in the care work industry. And if you come in a skilled professional visa, you're able to work in the legal industry. Some people come as postgraduate students, and then after that, they're able to change their visa routes and all that. Personally, I relocated to the UK on a family visa. I came to live with my spouse and our little boy. So relocating to the UK for me was a major and a big personal shift, both professionally and personally, because I had to decide. I had my years of practice in Uganda, and then I was shifting into a country where I knew after all the research I had done, I wasn't going to start from the same level I was at. So it was a big decision to make. For anyone who would want to relocate, you'd have to consider your years of practice and the fact that when you come here, you may have to start from the lowest of levels, as we shall see when we discuss. Anyways, my goal today is to share what I wish I knew earlier to help any persons who are preparing for the same journey. So my session is not going to be about just the legal route. It's going to be about my lived experience, which is going to be interesting because you find in it some good, sometimes difficulties, and also probably the often or underlooked experiences that you go through when you're coming from a different legal system. So my first discussion is going to entail on the legal system differences. You know, when we're in Uganda, when we're studying law, we at the back of our mind, we know we are studying common law. So as you move into the UK, you have at the back of your mind an assumption that because both countries follow common law traditions, then it's going to be easy or it's going to be similar, which is actually not the point. When you reach here, it's significantly different from what you've known in your common law back home. What you've got to know is that it's completely different, but you can use the skills or the experience that you had in Uganda to be able to adapt into the system here. For example, in the UK, they have solicitors and barristers, whereas in Uganda, we have an advocate who does both roles. So what basically that means is that in the UK here, when you come, you're going to have solicitors who are basically going to deal with paperwork, or they're going to deal with things such as contracts, your documentations you may need, and all that. But then the barristers will be the ones that will need to go to the barristers will be the ones that will now go to court. So there's a difference between the persons who are going to do for you your other paperwork and contracts, and then the people who will actually go to court to present your cases if you have any cases. So as you come to the UK, you must know ahead of time which route you want to follow. Do you want to be a barrister? Do you want to be a solicitor? Because understanding that helps you to know what exactly you should be able to follow. For example, for people who want to become solicitors, we'll have to do the SQE, which is solicitors qualifying exams, which we'll discuss further as we go ahead. But for people who want to become barristers, will have to go through another process so that they're able to be admitted to the bar. So what you must know as you look at the legal differences, that don't assume that your familiarity with common law will make everything easy. It is a good foundation, yes, but it's only as good as you can use it to build onto something else. So as you come into the UK, it's very important for you to know the legal culture shifts, which is my next discussion. Professionally, in the UK, their culture shifts are a bit different from ours. In Uganda, I'll give an example of our court systems. In Uganda, you could be late for court for any reasons. I do remember when you'd be late, you'd have to call the court counsel and ask them to be able maybe to stand, to have the matter stood over for a couple of hours. So they wait for you. And then, of course, sometimes if the other advocate is courteous enough, then the judge will allow for the matter to be stood over and then hear other matters as they give you time, which is different from here. The legal culture here, they are way too professional. Punctuality is everything. As my president Frances mentioned, or she's now my current president because I now belong to the UK Lawyers Association. So as she mentioned, she said, whether you had a meeting that required you to be available at 10 and it is 3 a.m. in your country where you are, and the other persons you're having meetings with, it's 10 a.m. in their countries, you had to be present. You would not give any excuses of things such as, in Uganda, you can give excuses of things like the power went out, so I was not able to print out things. I mean, they are lame excuses, but people give those excuses, which is different from here because in the UK, you must observe the timelines. They are critical, they are crucial. Failure of observing the same has legal consequences, which could adversely affect your client. So you have to make sure you're punctual. Your written communication has to be clear, and professionalism is critical in whatever you do, which is not the case when you come to Uganda. So the legal culture shift is very important for you to understand at the forefront if you wish to go ahead and practice law in the UK. And then what you'll also observe when you come to the UK is that you have to prepare for a more individualistic kind of work compared to Uganda. In Uganda, we have a law firm where you could probably have different work colleagues on the same level. For example, you may have legal associates who are like 2 or 3 in a firm. Then you have legal assistants and all that. However, when you come to the UK, they may rely on you. There may only be 2 paralegals that are in that particular office. So they may have to rely on you and your workload. So you don't have to shift your work to another person all the time like you have in Uganda. So anyways, also in the UK, what you have to observe is that they look at the data protection rules, as Frances discussed. It's very critical. It's too important how you handle client data, how you handle client communications, and even the devices you use for work. Work emails are encrypted. You don't just release information to persons who are not part of the communication. Breach of these rules is the data protection rules and the privacy rules is taken as a very important aspect of the legal system, and it has legal consequences, as she explained, which could lead you to be fined a huge sum of money. So much that even when you're looking for jobs, as I will discuss later, when you're trying to make applications for jobs, I have made several applications, and what they do is they specifically ask you about the GDPR. They specifically ask you about your knowledge in regards to data protection and privacy of the client. That's how important it is of the client's communications. What you have to understand from this legal culture shifts is that much as, when you're in the UK, they'll talk about diversity and inclusion are promoted and all that, you must understand that there could be inbuilt, I don't even want to discuss this in depth, but there could be inbuilt system biases that may exist. So it's important for you to be aware and assertive, but at the same time as you're doing that, you've got to be professional. When you're doing it, you don't just have to air it out in a blatant way that could come off as someone who is being racist or someone who is being indifferent. So that would take me to discuss the qualification pathways. If you come from Uganda and you want to become an advocate, what are some of the qualification pathways we have in place? I mentioned earlier, if you want to be a solicitor, you'd have to look at doing the solicitor's qualifying exams, which is divided into two. The first one being SQ, I'm abbreviating solicitor's qualifying exam as SQE. So there's SQE 1 and 2. 1 is based on your legal knowledge. So for someone who has done law in Uganda, this is important for you because you have something to rely on. It gives you a bit of knowledge. You have the knowledge. So legal knowledge, then SQE2 looks at legal skills. However, the second aspect you have to do under qualifying is the qualifying work experience. Now, in the chat room, as other panelists were discussing, I did see someone who had a question about the SQE and the qualifying work experience. Basically, the qualifying work experience, some countries are exempt. For example, I came from Uganda as an advocate for over 7 years, with 7 years work experience. I can come to the UK and apply for an exemption. Now, Uganda as a country, this is something we discussed with Frances some time back. We do not have an exemption, Uganda as a country, on the qualifying work experience. However, you can apply for it individually. Now, when you apply for it individually, you need the backing of Uganda Law Society. That is why now the memorandum of understanding we have is very important for us, because as a lawyer, as an advocate who is moving into the UK, you need the backing of the ULS when you're applying for exemption on qualifying work experience. You need a backup letter from the ULS, from the advocate who's been like your boss or whose training you've been under will have to sign off, and then you'd apply for an exemption individually. What we can do as ULA, we could also give a backup later for you to show that since you joined, that is if you joined and then became a member of ULA, that since you joined, you became a member of ULA, and ULA has been working with you in other areas, in legal areas. So it shows that with your work experience from Uganda, you've also been able to remain relevant in the UK context, in the UK legal field. So you can use those letters that have been given to you to qualify to apply for your individual exemption on qualifying work experience. And if you're lucky enough, you get it. If you don't get it, you need to do 2 years work experience and under the supervision of a solicitor for you to be able to qualify. Then if you want to become a barrister instead of a solicitor, you'd have to you need to join an Inn of Court and also take the bar transfer test. Now, what you must note is that for foreign lawyers, it's really hard for you to become a barrister because of the fact that there are very few slots available for pupillage. That is some kind of training you have to go through to become a barrister. However, I have seen, and I know members of ULA who have been able to secure those kinds of pupillage contracts. I remember there's a time when we were having our launch of the UK Uganda Lawyers Association. One of our colleagues, one of our members, was a person who had just gotten pupillage, and she was telling us how to go through about it. So if you come to ULA, they'll be able to guide you on how you're able to secure such contracts. And then So what you have to notice is that much as you come from Uganda as a qualified advocate, sadly, our papers are not automatically recognized, and then you become a solicitor in the UK. You'll have to go through the system of requalifying. However, it gives you an advantage that you do not start from scratch. So when you come into the UK, what must you consider in terms of career entry points? Now, this is very important. Even if you're qualified in Uganda, most employers in the UK want UK-based work experience. And I can attest to the fact that I have had troubles. I have had troubles trying to get into workplaces. I've been here for 2 years. I'll not count a lot of my first year when I relocated to the UK, because I relocated to the UK when I was pregnant. Now, that's a personal experience. Not everyone is going to come when they're pregnant, but that was how I came into the UK. I gave birth 2 months after relocating. And because of the differences in the culture here and how things are done, I had a longer annual leave, rather, sorry, a longer maternity leave, or I wouldn't call it maternity leave because I was not in employment anyways, but I had a longer period adjusting. Now, after that period, then I started looking for jobs. And guess what? The most terrifying thing was that all the years of experience I came with from Uganda were not recognized. So for every employer who I got chances to interview with would always ask me, "Oh, which work experience do you have in the UK?" And I didn't have any. So it can be devastating. However, what you must be able to do is, first, you could join like ULA. Now ULA is present and it has work that it's doing. If you join on a voluntary basis, organizations like ULA, you could be able to, it could give you an entry point into the legal system. So also when you're applying, aim for lower positions such as paralegal, legal assistant, or even case worker. Joy told you she started off in a social work environment. So you could aim for caseworker in public entity or in a charity, or you could just volunteer at different organizations such as Citizens Advice Bureau or legal charities or ULA. The most important thing is get an entry point. And this is important for you to know that even if you came from Uganda as a senior advocate, once you come to the UK, it's a different environment. You do not have UK-based work experience, and you should be able to know that starting law, even as a legal assistant, is an entry point, and it's not something that you should be ashamed of. I will towards the end, I'll give my personal experience in regards to starting law. That I'll give later. Then also the most important thing when you're looking at your entry points that you have to know is how to tailor your CV to the UK standards. Now, I came from Uganda with my 10-page CV. It wasn't really 10-page. I'm just trying to give pages, but it must have been about 4 pages because we give a very long line of all the things we've done. In Uganda, how big your CV is also as important. But when you come to the UK, they want a very summarized CV, only highlighting what is important. They do not care for all these other things you're going to put, what you used to do and all that. What they want to know is, are you able to highlight client care? Are you able to highlight case management in your CV, legal drafting, other than just saying you handled cases? Are you able to highlight the most important things? So I remember I had help from Christopher and even from Frances. They're members of ULA. Frances is the president. They did help me to tailor my CV according to UK standards because I came with a CV. I remember I did my CV over 5 times, if not 6. Every other time I had to reduce the words, and every time I reduced the words, it became painful because I really wanted this CV I was used to, and ended up at some point having a 1-pager CV. But that 1-pager CV is the CV that has actually led me to getting an important role recently. So it does not matter how big your CV is. What matters is how are you able to capture the most important experience they want or language to tailor into your UK CV. So my next discussion will be about settling in the UK. Like when you come to the UK, like outside us trying to look at the bit of becoming a solicitor or becoming a barrister, there's real life. And that is where many of us professionals struggle. First of all, when you come to the UK, the cost of living is very high. It depends on which route you came in. I was lucky that I came in the UK under a family visa, so I had my spouse. I didn't have to pay for rent. I didn't have to pay for transport. All that, I had it on a silver platter, I would say, but that's not the case for everyone. Depending on the route you come in, the cost of living here is really high. And as I say, I had it on a silver platter, but it was breaking the back of my partner because much as I was having it peacefully, he had to pay for two people, which is really hard. The cost of living, especially the rent in the UK, if you're in Uganda, the rent that you spend in a year could build you a house, a fully built house and even furnished. That is how expensive it is to rent in the UK. Even the transportation, depending on where you're going or where you're working, is also really hard. So if you're planning on coming to the UK and you're going to live alone, you should bear at the back of your mind. You should be able to work out how you're going to be able um, to handle the cost of living. That is why, much as you're trying to chase your legal work documents, some people have other work alongside. Now, the danger is that this other work, if you get too comfortable, you may end up doing this other work full time and then you shy away from the legal field. So it's important to draw a balance between the two as you plan for that. Then you must make sure your documents are in order when you're coming. You must make sure you have the visa. When you arrive, you must make sure you apply for a national insurance number. There is nowhere you're going to apply for a job without the national insurance number. You must be able to pick up your biometric card, register with the GP, sorry, that is the doctor, register with the doctor. And you must also make sure this is a document that nobody tells you about, that is important. In fact, I was having a discussion with with some other employers I was trying to apply jobs to, and they told me it is so important to get a UK driving permit. And they told me, in fact, it's much more important than you getting your master's degree. Of course, they were trying to, it's not really much more important, but they were trying to equate the relevance and importance of the driving permit, especially if you're going to work and live in areas outside London. Because if it's in areas inside London, the network system, the transport network system requires you to use trains most of the time. But outside London, the areas can be so rural, they can be so inaccessible that if you do not have a driver's permit, you could walk a distance of say 20 minutes to get to a place you want to go to maybe catch a train or bus, or you could actually end up spending more on Uber so that you get to the place. And then as you're settling, finally, the most important thing is do not go through it alone. Look for Ugandan networks, look for African diasporas, legal associations, look for ULA. The most important thing is to know that support makes a difference in this country. It is very important for you to belong somewhere because it's a struggle mentally when you're shifting from one area to another. The system here is too different that you need the support. Do not isolate yourself because isolation could lead you into depression. I think you've heard of the depression rates in this country are really high. And some of the things that cause it include isolation, where you start feeling you're alone. So you're not alone in this, and it's important for you to look for support groups. And this pushes us to the next discussion, which is mental health and adjustment. So one of the hardest things you must know is that relocating takes an emotional toll on you. I would say I had support because I was coming to a place where I had a partner and everything. But the emotional toll that relocating to this country takes on you, nobody discusses it. We'll discuss about all the advantages of moving to this country, which include employment, which include a better lifestyle, which include comfort, which include you're going to get a better transport network. You're going to probably have access to medical health care when you need it. But what we do not talk about is the emotional toll it has on you to shift from your country and come into the UK. And that also depends on the lifestyle you had. So for some of my friends and family and colleagues who knew me back home, I had a lifestyle where I was always having people around, always outdoors. I would say I was having fun because that's how we basically that's how we discuss Uganda as a country. We call it a country where you have fun. But imagine shifting all that to another country where it's completely different and where to have fun, you must be able to have the financial muscle for it. In Uganda, even when you do not have the financial muscle, a friend could come in and chip in. Here, it's so individualistic that even when you go out with friends, everyone would pay for their bill. That is how individualistic it is. So it is important for you to have the mental health adjustment when you move from Uganda and come to live in the UK. Because if you do not get on the top of it, it could lead to self-harm. So please, it's so important for you not to isolate. Isolation will make you doubt yourself. It will make you lose self-esteem. You feel like you don't belong. All of a sudden, you feel like, I remember when Ula was having its launch, I spoke to Christopher and I was asking him, Christopher Katompanga is one of the members, and he was very instrumental in my mental health well-being when I had just relocated. I did ask him, so there are some contributions people are making towards Ula launch, and I do not have a job. So what am I going to do if I can't even if I can't even contribute to the party or to the launch? And he said, no, do not worry. As long as it's important for you to come and be part of the group, for people to know you, for you to come and discuss with other people who are going to take the same road. So if I had isolated, I would have probably not gone to Ula and not have benefited from meeting people who eventually have helped me. I will give my testimony at the end about one Ula member who has been very instrumental into helping me getting a job that I recently got. So it's important not to isolate, because isolation could give you all kind of thoughts. And in case you are struggling mentally, there's a lot of help in this country in regards to people who are struggling. You can start with your GP. You could go to your general practice doctor, tell them what you're struggling with, and they'll be able to connect you to mental health support groups. There are also charities for Black professionals, for refugees, for new immigrants. The most important thing is for you to be able to get help and also stay connected to your culture. Whether you're going to do it through food, in my home, we cook Ugandan foods. It's important to have adjustments and all that. But for us, we decided in our home we have Ugandan food, and it helps us relate and stay connected to our culture. It could be with your faith. You could say, personally, I'm Muslim, so I've remained with my faith. It helps me reconnect to my culture. And it could be also through friends. You could keep in touch with your friends. You don't have to be facing, even people back home do not meet regularly just because they're in the same country. So you must adopt ways of how you are able to preserve your identity. It's very important. So I would wrap up now as I'm going to the do's and don'ts, which will probably bring me towards the end of the discussion. So the things that really helps me is that before you move to this country, you must do your research. Do your research about the visas. If you want to come on a work visa, if you want to come on a family visa, if you want to come on a study visa, do your research about the visas. And as Joy stated, the previous panelists, you can discuss with them, immigration lawyers, about the best route that you want to take. And if you're coming here to become an advocate, do research about qualification routes so that you also understand and know, like Frances said, understand and know what you want. Because if you want to specialize in a specialty and all that, it will help you understand which qualification route to take. It will help you know whether you want to become a solicitor, whether you want to become a barrister. And when you become a solicitor, it will help you identify which area of law you want to deal with. Because unlike Uganda, where we do general practice, in the UK, you have to choose a specialty where you want to fall. Then also do your research on the cost of living, because it will shock you. It is a shocker. So do your research and work out how you want to be able to handle that. Then the other thing you should do is network early. The moment you come here, you have Ula, which is a good platform for you. You be able to attend its events or other community lawyer events. Make use of LinkedIn. I know in Uganda we don't do it a lot, but if you're out there and you're putting your information out there, you're writing articles and all that, some people are going to identify you from there. I will tell you that the job I recently got, when I went to my LinkedIn views, I found that my employer actually went on my LinkedIn to try and look at what my LinkedIn platform is like. So those are things, like they said, what you put out there is going to follow you. So they went to look through and see what I've done or what I've put out there in my page. And then don't ignore the cost implications. This is very important. It's so important that I will speak to it briefly. The cost of the SQE 1 and 2 is about £3,980, which is an equivalent of, let me see, more than 5, 10, 15, maybe more than 15 million. I'm just giving an estimate. It could be, it's more than 15 million Ugandan shillings. That is the cost of doing SQE 1 and 2. And that is excluding the preparations. Yet you need them because you can't just come from Uganda and think you don't need preparation courses. These preparation courses are even more expensive than the exam itself. One preparation course could cost between 2,000 to 4,000 pounds. So do not ignore the cost implications. Important for you to know and budget. I remember when I came, I was struggling. We did have plans on how I was going to do my SQE, and then the funds, we got an emergency and the funds had to be utilized for something else. So in an attempt to try and still do my SQE and find a route, I made a public plea. I did a GoFundMe page. If you're lucky, you get people who will contribute to it. I was not lucky, so I didn't get people to contribute to it. Now, when that didn't work out, I went to plan B. We looked out for another plan. So as you come here, you're going to know that you have to have a mindset that is flexible, because it's not important. It's not possible for you to fix on one thing and say, this must work out for me. You must be able to have a flexible mindset. If this doesn't work out, what else can I do? So you've got to budget wisely. You can consider part-time work somewhere else or applying for scholarships, whichever. But the most important thing is you've got to plan for the costs. Those, you cannot ignore it. And then another thing you need to know is that you can't assume that your Ugandan qualifications are alone enough for you to be able to come here and automatically practice. You're going to be in shock when you come here and people do not recognize them. I remember there's one university. It's not a university. It's a training. It's a training school. I will not name the name for purposes of privacy, but they literally told me, you know what, you've got to do a diploma in law here because we don't recognize your LLB from Uganda. I was in shock because I knew universities in the UK were recognizing it. But I mean, this is what this institution was saying to me. So there are things that are going to shock you here. But the most important thing is know the right people to get information from. Because when they told me that, I did tell them, but unfortunately, I have applied to other universities and I know that my qualifications are not nothing. They do not equate to nothing. They are starting point for me. You can't just tell me to start studying law all over again. But imagine if I did not know, they would have taken advantage of that, of my ignorance, and gone ahead to ask me to do a course, and you end up doing unnecessary courses. So it's important for you to join organizations like ULA, because then you'll be able to get knowledge on what to expect and what not to expect. I remember one of the ULA members told me, you know, they were advising me on which universities not to go to because they're after money and they may not give you the right information you need. And indeed, when I tried to liaise with them, I found that issue that he had actually told me with them. Then another thing you could consider among the do's is it's not the end of the world if you don't necessarily get a legal role in the first instance. Like Joy said, she was not trying to recruit you into social work, but you could consider adjacent fields as an entry point. You could go into compliance, you could go into housing, you could go into immigration, you could go into safeguarding. If you feel that your direct legal route is being delayed, you can apply in all other adjacent fields that actually relate to the law, because at the end of the day, they'll give you an entry point for you to be able to enter. I'll tell you, my current role, I've been working as a transport administrator at some very important, it's one of the big companies in the UK. It's a big company, so it was a very good opportunity for me to be able to get this role. But I was working as an administrator. Any other person would say, no, I want legal work. But as you're waiting for the legal work, are you able to do something else that can help you to be able to get into the field? Now, this administrative role was key in my getting into my other role as well. It's an adjacent field that I could do and still, alongside it, be a member of ULA and participate in ULA activities. then it would help me keep on board and also balance my professional work, so I do not entirely fall out of the professional world. And then another thing you have to do is you have to keep learning. There are so many free courses that are available, so many CPDs that you have to do continuous professional development. These all matter. So it's important for you to keep learning so that you do not, it's called a knowledge erosion, so that you do not have a knowledge erosion. I remember it's something I used to always tell my husband, I'm so afraid of my knowledge eroding if I do not keep learning. So it's important for you to be able to continue with these courses, and they're available. So all these things matter. Now, among the things that you shouldn't do, among the don'ts, these some of the things I learned the hard way. Don't assume your Ugandan title is automatically respected here. When you come to the UK, you'll have to reintroduce yourself. Don't come from Uganda feeling, oh, I'm an advocate of the High Court, I'm this. So automatically that gives you privilege. It does not in any way. You have to reintroduce yourself in a way that you've got to know that you humble yourself. I mean, when you come into the UK, before you actually get into the role you want, you will be humbled to the point of knowing that you have actually relocated into a foreign country. So once you're humbled and you know that you've now put both feet on the ground, then now you try to reintroduce yourself into the UK legal system. So do not assume your title is respected. Don't trust unverified recruiters promising jobs or visas. Do your own due diligence. Now, this is important. I remember when I was applying for jobs, when you're applying for jobs, all these recruiters, because it's very common here in the UK to use recruiters, and all these recruiters are seeing your CV, they are looking at your numbers. You're going to get very many calls. I remember I got calls from some recruiters who are offering me UK work experience. And you become desperate and you feel the need to go on with it. But they were asking me for money in return. So they were asking me, I remember they were asking me if they had asked me probably for little money that I had, I would have probably gone ahead to fall prey to their plans. Unfortunately, they asked me for money which I could not afford. They were asking me for £4,000 to give me an equivalent of 3 months UK work experience with a probability of extending it to 6 months, and also with a probability of job placement. See? But at the time when you're looking for a job, you feel like this is something you should go with. However, when they told me £4,000, I looked at £4,000 and I said, well, this £4,000, I could use it to pay for the SQE 1 and 2. So there is no way I'm paying it to someone to get me just work experience of 6 months and a job. I would rather, if I had this money, use it to do my SQE 1 and 2 and then be able to secure a job thereafter. So it's important for you not to trust unverified recruiters. Make sure you do your due diligence. Then among the don'ts, please do not isolate yourself. Once you isolate yourself, it's going to lead you to burnout. And when you burn out, you're going to end up getting depressed. Join groups of Ugandans in the UK, join ULA, there are so many other groups of Ugandans. We actually even have groups of, according to even the tribe you come from, there are groups of, the Bagandas have their unions, they have their groups here, the Basoga, the Acholis. I've attended, I think, one of Acholis, Bagandas, and the Japadolas. So, and so many others have groups that you must join so you don't self-isolate, because that will lead you to burnout. You get overwhelmed because it can really be overwhelming in this country. It's important for you to preserve your mental health. And please do not underestimate the transition. It takes an emotional toll on you. Do not underestimate the transition, and do not underestimate digital literacy in this country. Everything here is done online. Applications, work portals, even courts. I remember I have one of my clients who was telling me he did his divorce online. He didn't go in any court at all. All his divorce process was done online, from filing to the hearing up to even the decision being given, because it didn't require a lot of exchanges. So it was a straightforward divorce. They did not even have to go to court. So you can't underestimate the importance of digital literacy in this country. Even all the cases and the legal research is done online. It's very important for you to appreciate technology which is a struggle back home, because back home people are used to just, going to, the only thing they use it for is maybe go to websites where they can download case law and precedents. But it's very important for you to acclimatize yourself with technology in this country. All the job applications I've done and interviews I've been to have been online. I have not had any interview that I have had to go in person, and some of them have earned me jobs, but it's all been online. And then if you wish to, the last thing is, don't wait too long for you to start the process. If you want to do, if you know you come here and you still want to continue with your legal field, it's very important for you to start the process as soon as possible. And when I say start the process, it doesn't mean you have to have the money, because there could be challenges in terms of getting the money, but at least be able to volunteer somewhere, join legal circles, join the solicitors, the bar, the solicitors bar association, all the kind of things. They help you to start getting information so that you do not, when you wait too long, you start losing self-esteem, and you start feeling you may not be able to make it. Anyway, as I wrap up, the last don't misinform immigration authorities about your documentations. It's very important. Live alone in Uganda, where someone can just wake up and decide to change their age all of a sudden. It does not happen like this here. Whatever information you give out is going to stay in your records, and if you end up at one point changing it, it's going to affect your future applications. So it's important for you to not misinform the authorities. Now, my last discussion is in regards to the key lessons that I've learned. So in my whole journey of relocating for the past 2 years, I have learned that if you're coming from Uganda, you're not starting from zero. You're starting from experience in a different context. So do not come here and get overwhelmed and feel you're starting from zero, or all that I studied is useless. No, you're not starting from zero. You're starting from just a different experience in a different context. And the most important thing is that in Uganda, we the way we are taught, I mean, look at how you go through law school and how you go through LDC. It requires a lot of resilience and flexibility. And this resilience and flexibility is what you're going to use to succeed here. So it will be your strength. Do not underlook the resilience and flexibility that you adopted from Uganda. Your Ugandan training also has taught you how to be resourceful. So use that resourcefulness to adapt. And I tell you, it's very important, because that's what I use to be able to adapt here. I mean, in Uganda, the way you present yourself, leave alone this, we have a tendency of always trying to tell ourselves, you've not done, Uganda is lacking. But what we forget is that the resilience our system gives us and resourcefulness, it makes us, it's kind of like inbuilt. The moment you come from Uganda, you have to be resilient, you have to be flexible, you have to be resourceful, because that is how we go through law school, if you remember the struggles of law school, and also that's how you go through LDC. So please use this to your advantage. Use it to build the bridge. Do not tear down what you already have and say, I have nothing. No, use it to be a bridge to cross over to the next ones. Now, it's important for you to seek mentorship. Look for UK-based lawyers who can mentor you, provide you guidance. I looked for the president of the UK Ugandan Lawyers Association through my father back home. He connected me to her, and she was able to guide me. She mentored me. I tell you, she mentored me right from the start, constantly reminded me when I was getting into other jobs not to forget the legal work. Every time I was having job applications, I would call her up for discussions. And in fact, she helped me in my recent role that I just earned, which I'll be starting soon, as a legal assistant with a local authority here, which is a big deal. I mean, a local authority is an equivalent of a local government in Uganda. She took me, I called her up and informed her, as a person who was mentoring me in the UK, and I told her, oh, I've been shortlisted for this interview. And she has been the whole time sending me job applications to apply for and all that, because I looked out for her and requested for her guidance and mentorship. So she took me through some of the questions they would ask, including the GDPR, including how you present yourself as a UK lawyer. Of course, she was asking me questions. I was giving her my Ugandan version of how to answer, and then she was helping me polish it. It's not zero. It just needs a bit of polishing. You're not starting from zero. So she helped me polish it into how to answer in the UK context. And because of that guidance, I was able to pass my interview, and then I've since moved on to the next processes and earned myself the role. So it's important to seek mentorship. And then it's also important to volunteer or do pro bono work, because this boosts your CV and shows your commitment to the profession. So among the lessons, it's important for you to do that. And it's important for you to connect with UK lawyers and build a strong profile on your LinkedIn. So that is it. Thank you for listening. I know it was too long, and I'm sorry if I made it too long, but I hope my journey that I've talked to you about and the lessons have been able to give you encouragement for you to know what to do. And I'm happy to hear any questions or your own experiences. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aliza, for this very insightful communication, discussion, information. The comment section was just awash with congratulations, thank yous, and additives to whatever you were saying. At this point, to everyone who is tuned in, please send in your questions to any of the panelists that have just finished, and I think we'll be ready to answer. However, there are some who had sent through some questions. I think I'll go ahead and read Daniel Muzora's question. He asked, you had tapped it a bit, Sumaya, during your presentation. So he says, in what ways can ULA support Ugandan lawyers fast track qualification in the UK through the Solicitor Qualification Exam, SQE? Also, what support can be provided to help with obtaining the SQE exemptions to ease the qualification process for those intending to dual qualify?
Right. Okay. So I'll answer that. I'll give a brief answer, and if Frances wants, you can add on something. Now, among the ULA members, there are some people who have been able to do the SQE 1 and 2. So what ULA can do, it gives you access to such people who are able to train you and provide you with knowledge on how to be able to pass the SQE 1 and 2, because that's mandatory. You cannot do without doing the SQE 1 and 2. Now, the only exemption you can get is in regards to the work experience. That is the qualifying work experience. However, that is done on an individual basis at the moment. Uganda is not exempted as a country because of so many other reasons, including some of which the president mentioned, how they look at and perceive the country in general, in terms of its political environment, social environment, and all that. So what I can say ULA can do in regards to helping you get an exemption is, when you apply for the exemption, if you're a member of ULA, it can give you a letter in support to acknowledge that they know you as a member, and also to show that you've been doing some work with them. That is, if you're volunteering with them at the moment. So that letter in support shows that you're continuing with your legal practice in the UK. At the same time, I mentioned you have to get a letter from ULS. I remember in my earlier time, I was trying to apply for a letter from ULS. By then, the president was the past president, Bernard Owundo. And I was unsuccessful because the persons through whom I tried to get the letter did not yield any help. Walking away from that, because then I got some interruptions, my own personal interruptions, that prevented me from continuing with the journey of applying for exemption. But when you're doing that, the ULS has to be a party to it. So that's why our memorandum is important, because then we can refer to you, the person, and then you're able to help the person be able to get a letter. A letter from your former work boss is also important. And the application itself. Now, you have to be so committed, because the application for exemption has more than 300 questions. I downloaded it when I was trying to fill them in, and they will ask you over and over again questions with evidence in regards to what you are able to do at work, how are you able to handle clients, give evidence. So your former employer has to attach documents, of course, trying to remove information that relates directly to clients for their privacy, but they would have to attach documents that show you have knowledge in specific areas in terms of filing cases, court attendance, handling clients, among other things. But the only help that ULA can provide at the moment is a letter of recommendation, and also giving you access to persons who have passed the exams, so you're able to utilize their knowledge. That's what it can do at the moment. Frances could add on something, I don't know.
No, thank you. You've answered it very well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And still another question to you. Pius in London is asking, how can I keep in touch with you?
Oh, right. So I have my email address. I think my email address can be shared. We can use the email address, and I'm available on the ULA platform. So if there are members of ULA, then they're able to message me privately using the ULA platform.
I think that has been answered, Pius. So this goes to Frances. Someone is asking, as a Ugandan looking to break into the UK cross-border legal space, how can I ensure compliance? No, it also goes to you, Aliza, yes. Compliance with the data protection laws and regulations.
Can I push it to Frances? She would be in a better position to answer that.
Yeah,
okay.
Thank you. I think that's a very good question. And this is, for me, I think, because it's very important, we cannot just do a wishy-washy response. We can put it as one of the trainings which we can actually do so that you can cover it in detail. It's so important. The reason why I'm saying that is it is going to depend in terms of what the MO is trying to get. Us doing cross-referral cases, working on cases together, you being able to work on our cases and clientele, it is everything. So I would rather we give you a particular training, whether it's just for an hour, and such that you understand the GDPR, the process, everything, such that there is no anything. So probably that could be one of the first trainings which we can cover so that everybody take benefit of it. It's not just a 5-minute answer, I'm sorry, but we can add it on. Thank you.
Yeah, Diana, if you don't mind, I would like to just add on what Fran has said about data protection. Data protection is not something you do just one-off. Every year you have to do it. I work with the local authority as well, and every year I have to do it. So they have like a set of questions and scenarios. And like what Fran is saying, we can bring actually this training. So actually you can actually evidence that you have attended training on data protection and you understand the principles. So of course, with the changing technology and all that, you're not going to do data protection training just once a year, once in 2 years. Every year you have to update that information. So I think for your CPD, you can evidence that and say you've attended that training, and we give you that PowerPoint as evidence that you know the principles and your duty while managing or handling data. Yeah, that is something we can deliver on, sure.
To add on, data protection issues have become very important for anyone who would like to enjoy the cross-border space, because a lot of the work that has been coming through from that side, outside the borders of the country, one of the most important things, as the presenters have told us, is that I've also experienced personally, is the need to have the data protection, your data protection in order. So I think this training that you have proposed will go a long way to leveling the ground for us here as well, and also help those who have not yet come in contact with something like that. Because anytime, because this is now, it's now cutting across. It's going to cut across very soon. By the time it comes, I'm sure we'll be very ready for it if we get trainings such as this, yes? Another question is, someone has asked, how do they join ULA? How do they join ULA? Yeah.
It's a very important question. As I started, ULA, first of all, you've got to be Ugandan, and I think all of us, and you've got to be a lawyer, that's a tick. However, you've got to be living and working in the UK. So that if you meet that criteria or studying in the UK, those are the criteria of being ULA. Those who do not live or work in the UK or study in the UK, unfortunately, you cannot be members. However, if you're a member of ULS, which I believe the majority of you are, we have this memorandum of understanding, which we signed for 10 years. And, you know, I always say big thank you to the Radical New Bar, because this is one of its vision. You know, you will still benefit from the services of ULA. So even though you're not working, you're not a member, but you're a member of the ULS, you'll still be able to work in partnership with us. But to join, definitely you can go on our website. There is an application form which you complete, and then we will respond. Thank you.
The next question is, how do we contact or get access to the platform of ULA in order to benefit from it as Ugandans here?
Our presentations, which will be shared in the chat, I request if they can be shared in the chat. They have got all our contact details, the website, the ULA email, our social media, Twitter handles, wherever they are, you can be able to communicate to us. And if that can be shared with everybody, that would be great, please. Thank you.
Yes, I think that can be arranged. Also, a lot of this has been showing up as Joy was presenting. Some members asked the question about this lady, Justice Lydia Mugambe. There are many questions that came, but this is one of them that managed to capture. What options are available for Lady Justice Lydia Mugambe, given the unfortunate events that she faced in the UK?
Okay, so we try to avoid that. But for some reason it has come up again. Okay, so first of all, because the case is under appeal, as we are all lawyers here, it wouldn't be nice for us to make it a topic here, but I can give you just a broad overview of what happens, you know, but I wouldn't want us to discuss the justice's case because it's under appeal. So we wouldn't be doing this platform, you know, a good thing. But just so you know, when you're in the UK, say for example, you guys come here, there is what we call minimum wage. So if you're employing somebody, you must pay them minimum wage. If you don't pay that money, it is called exploitation. Now, you've heard stories about people have gone to the Middle East where they take away your passport. I talked about, you know, the Human Rights Act. When you are in a foreign country and somebody takes away your passport, it means technically you have no freedom. And that means it's what we call modern day slavery. It means you're exploiting somebody. So those are some of the ingredients of things that can put people in trouble. Say, for example, you bring over your maid or your sister or whoever that you think, you know, you're employing in your house. And like what my friend Sumaya has said, these titles don't work in this country. In fact, you'll find some, you know, there was a joke with my nieces. Somebody asked, was like, did you see President Kagame? And then my niece was like, which team does he play for? So they know footballers more than these people. You know what I mean? And this is with due respect that this country is totally, you know, things are very different when it comes to titles. So when you are here, regardless of who you are, the law is very powerful. And of course, you know, you have the right to fair trial and appeal and all those things. But what advice would I say? I am not we were not involved in that case. We know about the case like most of you, but what we know is the law. The law says if you're employing somebody, you need to pay them fairly. If somebody feels you're exploiting them, they can go, they need to show that they can actually go away from you so they don't have to be exploited. But if you bring somebody, keep them in your house, they can't leave the place, then that is called modern slavery. We have it a lot with the Asians, because Asians tend to bring in people to work for them in their homes, and these people have never crossed the road. So when they come, they're just in that house, they never get out. So there are so many stories, and there are stories to to the public, but for us, we deal with them, because I've had so many clients who have claimed asylum because of exploitation. So I don't know, but you see, she's in the best, legal system. She believes she has lawyers, and she's going to access justice accordingly. Any other question? I would rather we get away from that one.
We are running away from it right now. Yes. Someone asked a question. Dorina Mio is asking, can I become a member of ULA if I am a student in a UK institution but living in Uganda? They're remote.
That's a nice one, Fran, isn't it? Fran, you're muted.
Yes, you need to be living in the UK. And because for us, the support is more than just, because as you've heard some of our members have said, we mentor them. It's not just a number that you're just there. There is all these intricacies, us sitting and saying that we move you from point A to point B. Eliza's just shared her experience. You know what I mean? So we would rather, when you are not here, you are not going to, the objectives of ULA is like, they're not kind of like fulfilled in a way. So we want all to move with all our members such that they are developing and they are moving on, and they are kind of like moving on at the same standard, because there is that extra support which we give them. So if you're a member and you're not living here, you're not facing all these challenges, how are we going to work? So that's why at the moment we are looking at people who are studying here, but also they are living here in the UK, and then we support them through. But those who are not, as long as you're a ULS member, there is a way we can work with you as well. So it's not the same as being an ULA member, but the support is there, because remember this partnership which we have formed, it is for 10 years. And a big thank you to the leaders of ULS and ULA to see that even us, when we leave, this is the legacy of, of the Radical New Bar and the, ULA, which we are leaving behind for all of those who are coming after us to kind of like get support. Because like Eliza has said, it's so hard. Can you imagine? Some people came here and they took like 10 years, and they're not even doing the legal jobs which they're trained. And Eliza at least has taken 1 year, and she's in. She's absolutely in. And the difference, and because of this MOU which we have, these are examples of the partnership which we have, that without that, it would have been very difficult. Where would she have found me? You know what I mean? But this partnership which we have is not just a piece of paper. It's a living document which is actually changing our Ugandan advocates. And from somebody who did not have a job, a legal job, now she's got a legal job. And not just employed by just somebody. Here, working for local government is huge, is absolutely huge. You're taken with respect and dignity, and you fly up. You see what I mean? And she's in, she's in. So the next thing, the minute she finishes her solicitor qualification, her salary is just going to go up. And again, when we talk about the income boost and everything, she'll be up there. You see what I mean? So that shows the partnership, this MOU, which we signed at Uganda, the Uganda Law Society. The beneficiaries are already here, and we are seeing it, but we don't only want to see just a few members. We want to see more Ugandans advancing and doing this cross-border, referrals, and being able to walk into and mix into the international arena, the employment. If somebody is getting like $500,000, an advocate really 1 million per month, when actually they are smart, they have got the potential of earning 20 million per month, because it's possible. Imagine if you're getting only 100 advocates and you're moving them from that level to another level of working into the cross-border system. The country is better, the unemployment is being resolved. So, Sorry, I keep on going on and on because I'm quite passionate in kind of like bringing everybody across. Thank you so much.
Sorry. Thank you very much, Frances. But there is this one question. I think I've not yet seen any more questions coming through. No, I've not yet seen any more questions coming through. However, before I say what I was going to say, I want to thank Christopher Katompanga, who has been answering a lot of questions in the in the chat, and he had even shared the Twitter handle for ULA. So everyone, you can just go in there and scroll, you'll find it. Thank you so much for the insights and being a participant, a very active participant in here. Someone pious is saying he's very lucky to have joined this meeting. He was feeling very stuck and alone in the UK. So there is something someone once said, that a small, even if you help one person in a day, a month, who would have lost hope, it's worth everything. So Christopher's put up his hand. I think we should let him speak. Administrator, please. Could you unmute Christopher? As they're working on unmuting him, I was going to, yes. I wanted to thank you, Francis, Aliza, on Aliza's behalf. On Aliza's behalf, because I cannot imagine, one of the things that have held me back from ever pursuing going abroad is the fear that I'm going to be pushed into washing dishes or cleaning houses. And I'm not so good at that. Yes. So having people like you showing us that there is a possibility that someone, by the way, I studied with Sumaya in LDC. So having someone like Sumaya who is in the same level almost with me now, you know, soaring high up in another jurisdiction is absolutely amazing. And we want to urge all the Ugandans who are out there in the UK, the Ugandans who are out there in who are back here at home and are planning or were fearing to go to join their families and all like me. This is a space. This is a space that is showing us that it's possible. There are also those who already gave up, like me. I gave up on that a long time ago. I've now been looking at getting clients, you know, from the other end of the world to work for them here. And you have showed us, you know, that it is possible. So some people have been here saying, I want to understand how I can get these clients. They want the referrals more than the idea of staying the other side. This is the platform. Reach out. We've shared the Twitter handle. We're going to share the emails of our presenters here. Reach out and they will come to your aid. And yeah, let me find a way of helping Christopher.
Thank you so much, Diana, for the opportunity to just give very small additional views to the very well and excellently prepared presentation by my senior Frances, Joy, and Aliza. And to thank the ULS and the Radical Nuba very, very much for the opportunity that you've given us. Joy, thank you so much for the excellent presentation on immigration and, you know, different cross-border factors like data protection and so on. The key thing that I really wanted to jump onto the space to share is just to endorse, especially because I'm the aspiring lawyer's executive representative, is to endorse Aliza's message. And firstly, to congratulate her very much on her new role as a legal assistant. Now, I mean, guys, if you can clap, I'd like you to help me to clap for our chair, Francis Dungu, and I'll tell you why. I mean, I came in the UK, studied, and so on. But if it wasn't for Fran, I wouldn't have been a solicitor of the Senior Courts of England and Wales. Fran, I can tell you today that a whole local authority is running on my brain at the moment in my area of practice, because there are very many cases and there are very few lawyers. And this is less than a year of me being post-qualified. If it had not been for Fran's help, ladies and gentlemen, Fran literally made a recommendation for me to get, into my first role. And I'm so delighted when I hear that Aliza is joining a local authority as well, courtesy of Fran's help. I mean, and this is why I try as much as I can to, when I have the time, as much as possible to help to participate in your activities by giving back, because Fran helped me and she's helping other people, and we hope that help will transition not just in employment, but also in helping cross-border work in the future. So I'd really like to thank Fran for that, and congratulate Aliza on that as well. The future is very bad, but more so to thank the Radical New Bar for this new partnership. And I mean, we have got barristers, we have got solicitors, we've got Ugandans who are King's Counsel, and I think as things go ahead in the future, the potential is enormous, the potential is great, and I'm just so grateful to the entire ULS. I'm so grateful to Joy for kindly taking off her time to share her knowledge, and Aliza to kindly share her experience. It is extremely difficult to get one's foot into the door into the legal field in this country. That's why I'm so happy for Aliza. But just to thank you so much, and encourage you all to follow up our activities, as certainly we also follow up ULS's activities as well. And thank you, Diana, so much, and the CEO and the entire team for all the great efforts that you put forward. But thank you so much for your excellent presentation and for the time. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Mpanga, for that endorsement. I think a lot of people I know you, and this goes a long way. Frances, thank you for holding the hands of Ugandans who are there in the UK, and for those who are on this platform right now, or those who have not managed to make it, but know people who might need the help of anyone in the US, kindly in the UK, sorry, kindly reach out. Someone was asking something about something like this to be also done for the people in the US. So we are thinking ULA can reach out to their counterparts in the US to urge them to help the other Ugandans also in the other side of the world, because this is very helpful. This is more than helpful. So Andrew Wetaka is putting up his hand. Administrator, please. I think it should be the last one to ask a question, as we are way past our time. I think, yes, as you can see, we are way past our time. However, in the meantime, I'm going to ask everyone on the platform to kindly, the President, Francis, asked a question earlier. What CLE topics would you like them to discuss in the future? The one I really endorse and was up for was the data protection training. So that one is already the first one on the list. Kindly in the chat, just throw them in. data protection. Any others? Any others? Any other topics that you would suggest you would like? I think someone is okay. I think the use of AI with in our daily legal work, I guess. Professional ethics. They would like more of professional ethics, UK. A detailed immigration on the immigration laws. They're also asking for cross-border adoption. Yes, cross-border adoption, immigration requirements in UK. This one is very sought after, actually. Immigration, another one. So immigration, Joy, get ready. We want more immigration. Contract drafting with, I think, a touch of the UK standards. Yes, and how different are they? You know, our contracts seem to be they're asking the topic on cybersecurity, you know, because we believe it's more advanced the other side, and maybe the laws in that space as well, cyber AI laws that are governing the UK. Climate change, Abu Bakr says climate change. Yes. Have we got those? I think they've stopped coming through, and I believe those are quite a number. Another one has endorsed my data protection topic. Yes. So I think that's it. Those are the questions. Any last word from our president, Mrs. Smith?
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to thank you all who have attended. We still have a high number, 578 of us are still online, which is absolutely very good. There was a time when we were almost 1,000 people online, and I say thank you so much. And a big thank you for the President, Uganda Law Society, Isaac Semakade, for embracing this. As a start, you can imagine for years and years we have been there existing, but this has never taken place, has never taken off. Personally, I feel it is the strength in leadership. If you've got good leaders, good leadership who care for you, things actually happen. So people, the testimonies you're hearing about, like Sumaya, how Sumaya has said, Aliza, if it wasn't for the good leadership, maybe it would have never happened. You see what I mean? So it is the leadership of both organizations being very committed to this positive role. And I say thank you so much to the leadership, my committee, in the members of ULA. Joy, thank you so much. And those who are not here, we've got a big committee of ULA members. They tirelessly kind of like want to push this Ugandans not only going into the diaspora to do jobs which Diana has talked about, doesn't want to do. That's why she went to law school and wants to do the elite job. That's where she belongs. And it is our role, our effort to see that our Ugandans, the elite, actually do the elite job. Somebody asked a question about discrimination in the UK. How do you deal with it? To be honest with you, I think I've begun to believe that discrimination is also class discrimination in the UK. For instance, I feel the people say it, but you don't feel it more because of the position which you're in. If you are a lawyer, you win cases, you are up there. There are very few people who are going to discriminate you. For me, that is my experience. It happens, but it's not the same as somebody who is probably doing a certain job and living in a council estate somewhere and, is on state benefits. They're not earning good money. They fear that more. But if you work up and work and you are up there, you are among the elite, the driving force, you don't experience it. So I think once there is no job which I have applied for for the past 15 years and I have not got it. And I'm competing against white people who've gone to brilliant, universities and everything. You see what I mean? So don't look down on you and don't let these things be a deterrent for you to move forward. You can break through. I was born in Uganda. I went to Makerere University. That's where I did my first degree and I came here. I'm a Ugandan and I'm making it. So you can make it. Don't let this to be like, oh, I'm going to be discriminated. I know, for instance, you can be assertive in a professional way. I know people were very, skeptical, did not even know how to pronounce my name, my surname. By then it was like Dungu, that they'll be saying like Dungu, Dadangu, and be like, no, my name is Dungu, and I'm here to stay. Can you please learn how to pronounce my name properly? Because I'm going nowhere. In a sense, kind of like you assert yourself, and everybody knows my name. Let it be judges or wherever they are, because I'm going nowhere. I'm in this game, and I'm here to win.
Can I just add? Francis actually broke that wall. She's even married to a Muzungu. Just for the benefit of that, our friends here, she's even married to a Muzungu. That's how much she doesn't fear this thing of discrimination.
And maybe just to add, even the interview I had, you remember I was telling you I was competing against people who have studied law in the UK. So it is how you assert yourself, because in the interview there were different people, they have done law. I come from Uganda. I don't have any legal work experience in the UK, but it's how you actually assert yourself and position yourself. So this is something you've got to learn how to live with and work through. And once you work through it, you don't even notice it happening. So if you're critical about it happening, it's because they're probably not doing something right. You're not asserting yourself enough. And that's all I can add.
And just to be fair, Smaya, just to be fair, it is there. You will experience it. Let's not pretend about it doesn't exist. It is there. Because when I came here, I was a young girl, fresh from Makerere University. So I was a young Black girl. Now you would say those are all deficits, but you know what? I use those things as strength. Because I am Black, I said I'm going to shine because they need me. And I'm young, I'm energetic. I am the fastest here. I'm a woman, and oh my God, the best you can get is a woman, you see. So use these aspects as strengths, not as weaknesses to bring you down. Next time when we come back, Diana, I'll tell them about my experience of racism in court, where, I made complaints and these judges were taken off. So yes, there is room for addressing these injustices or the discrimination. I will share that for another day because I experienced it in my career and how I overcame.
Thank you, Joy. And just to wrap it up, just to say, clients want to win. They don't care your color. They don't care. If you've got the brains and you've got the skills, at least that's my experience, they will hire you. They will hire you. Christopher can tell you, his experience, and he's a newly qualified advocate, solicitor. Every week he's getting job offers, and he's specializing in education law. Job offers, jobs whereby he's just chasing them away. You see what I mean? And this is a young Black man. So when you're good and you're winning, they don't care. And these job offers, they're coming from big organizations, local authorities and everything. And they're ready to simply send these jobs away. So let racism not be a deterrent. Just to work on yourself, on how to make yourself competitive, how to knowledge yourself, find your niche. I remember when Christopher had just started, there was a particular area of law which he wanted to go in. And I had huge discussions about him and said, okay, you can do this, but you can also do it like this. Find the area of law which is very competitive, where they need, it is hard, but where you're going to shine and where you're very good. At the moment, he's chasing away jobs, so he can never be there saying, I don't have a job. When the president talked about the unemployment, once you're in here, we don't have it, because if you're good, they will look for you. They don't care about your color. You might experience it in court, but you will be able to challenge it. And as long as you win, they'll keep on coming for you. So thank you for organizing this. Thank you, Smaya, for sharing your experience. I am really grateful that you've shared it. Not that I want to overshine everybody, but sometimes when people hear these testimonies, they also feel energized. It's a real experience of how you've gone through it, you know, then it inspires somebody else to feel like, oh, they can also do it. People like Christopher sharing, and I'm so impressed to hear, and I didn't even know this, that Christopher supported you. Now, this is somebody who I supported, and he's also supporting you. Christopher, thank you so much. Because if I pull one person and another person pulls another, Ugandan advocates, we are going to move on. You see what I mean? Because there is only so much one person can do. But if each one of us support each other, eventually, just think about it in 5 years, how many people are just going to cross over? And also, please don't just think about only working in the UK. There are so many areas of law where you can actually work without coming physically into the UK. You know, don't forget the international commercial arbitration, which is my area of specialism. You know, I am a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. I'm an arbitrator. I am the founder of the Arbitration and Mediation Society of Uganda. These are areas you don't have to be in the UK, and yet you earn very good money. You know, think about all these areas which they are not being prioritized in our law school, but get into them and see how you can move on. So think about mediation, international mediation. This, you don't even have to be here. We've referred some cases to our Ugandan advocates who are doing mediation, and they are being paid in pounds. You see what I mean? And they're not even here, but they've been trained on that international standard, and they know the ethics of what our clients are going to need, the data protection. We have some of those advocates for confidentiality. I'm not going to disclose their names, but they are within operating this. Now, we don't only want to give it to just a few. We want that lawyer in Chitigumu to also to be part of this and train such that as the legal fraternity, we can all develop together. So thank you so much, ULS, for organizing this. Those are my parting remarks. I will be waiting to this communication, this dialogue to continue. Thank you, Diana, for moderating this. And with those few words, I beg to close. Thank you.
Well, with those very beautiful words, I'll call them beautiful words because she said words like earning in pounds, and those things tickle my ears. All right. So I want to thank you so much for opening for us this space. I have been chasing the international space from Uganda, and at least I'd started making strides. Now I see myself soaring with this partnership with ULA. So I cannot wait to make use of this ULA space to the maximum. A quick one, Masi Najuma is in the UK and she wants to get in touch with ULA. Kindly, you will go to the ULS page and you'll find all the information you need from there, and also try to reach out to them through the Twitter handle, which has been shared. You can also try to, someone will try to reach out to you as well. Yes, as our president said in his opening remarks, that fear has caused a lot of us to not, fear of the unknown has caused a lot of us to stay behind. Today, I believe there is a fear that has been amidst us who have tuned in, who have not tuned in, who are here for a bit and left. But I'm sure now there are certain myths that have been demystified. And thanks to ULS and ULA for coming into collaboration to do away with these fears that we cannot earn in pounds when we are in Uganda, that as Ugandans, we cannot work in UK or in the other jurisdictions. Thank you so much for this engagement. We believe that the more trainings that we have, the CLE trainings that we have now asked you to prepare for us will be handled. However, there is one who said some very important one, which I would like to pass to you. Virtual assets and cryptocurrency should also be a training. They hope you organize. And with that, I want to close this training. Thank you so much, all 505 of you, or 6 of you, the 5, there's 6 just left, who have been here. Thank you to our panelists for giving us a very insightful discussion and talk. There is the ULA WhatsApp number. Kindly, anyone who is on it on now, Mr. Christopher Mpanga has just shared it. Najuma, kindly take a look at that and reach out. And for all those ones that ULA has helped, thank you so much, ULA. For all those ones that are going to actually gain a lot from this platform, again, we thank you, ULA and ULS. So with that, I close and say, have a beautiful rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye, Diana.